Pastor Haynes, I know you got a good word this morning.
I won't complain, Rickey Smiley. Thank you so much, because I've discovered, man, that in this life, your attitude determines your altitude, and that means that your outlook can determine your outcome. So if you move through life with a negative disposition of complaining about what has happened instead of claiming what can happen, then you'll miss out on all that God has in store for you. So I've made up my mind. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to claim what God has for me. If I complain, then guess what? I have a negative disposition, a toxic mindset. But once I make up my mind to stop complaining and start claiming, then I have a new attitude. And my attitude is, as you say every day, God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. Since God is good all the time, my attitude is I'm going to have a positive outlook to overcome my negative obstacles. And since I have that positive outlook, I'm going to have a new energy, and my energy is going to help me overcome adversity. Why? Because I'm not complaining. I'm claiming the good that's out there. I'm claiming the positives that God has for my life. And so that's how you're going to make it through this day. Don't just go out there and hope to have a good day. Make it a good day. Why? Because I've discovered that happiness does not come to you unless it comes from you. Happiness ain't what you find, it's what you create. And you create it by having the right outlook, the right attitude, and make up your mind. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to claim all the good that God has for me. I'm going to have the right outlook, because that's going to change my outcome. I won't complain.
There it is, Pastor Haynes. Let everybody know how you can be reached.
Hey, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at FH Unscripted. I'm on Facebook, Frederick D. Haynes, and my sermons are on YouTube, and my YouTube channel is Frederick Haynes.
Yes, I love you, Pastor Haynes.
Love you, Ricky. Have a great one.
Hey, you too. Senior pastor of Friendship West Missionary Baptist Church. Front page up next. Rick Smiley Morning Show, 12 minutes after the hour. Hey, we got your front page sitting in for Eva Marcel. We got the one and only Maria Moore. Good morning.
Good morning, Ricky. Here are some of the headlines on the front page. Judge Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed to the Supreme Court 52-48 Senate vote last night in a near party line vote, with only Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine joining the Democrats in voting against her confirmation. Barrett was sworn in by Justice Clarence Thomas. The confirmation was the closest ever to a presidential election and the first in modern times with no support from the minority party. President Trump's son-in-law and White House senior advisor Jared Kushner was blasted yesterday after he said that black people have to, quote, want to be successful. He made the comments during a Fox News interview in which he said Trump's policies can help those in the black community, quote, break out of the problems that they are complaining about. After coronavirus cases and hospitalizations have been rising, deaths have been rising too. And while the daily death rate is still lower than the 2,200 we saw back in April, we're now at almost 800 deaths per day, up 10% in the past 2 weeks. More than 90,000 people in California are being told to leave their homes after a wildfire in Irvine quadrupled in size. And along the Gulf Coast, the governor of Louisiana has declared a state of emergency just ahead of Hurricane Zeta, which is on track to make landfall tomorrow night. If it does, this will be the fifth storm to hit the region. I'm Maria Moore sitting in for Eva Marcel, and that's what's happening in the news. Rock T, what's up in sports?
It's all good. Last night in Monday Night Football, the Rams beat the Chicago Bears. That was a defensive, juggernaut. You know what I'm saying? The Rams said, hey, we can play defense, too. It is what it is. In the meantime, Cam Newton is embarrassed, and he's admitting that his starting job is in jeopardy, and he could be benched again this week. He was pulled from the game in the third quarter last week, man, after throwing 3 interceptions. He's really been struggling, 3 losses in a row. Matter of fact, former San Francisco 49er quarterback Jeff Garcia is not only has a problem with the way Cam Newton has been playing on the field, he also has a problem with how he dresses. He pretty much said that Cam should only dress swaggy when you're winning games. Cam's fashion choices prove he only cares about himself, meaning he should tone down the way he dresses to bring less attention to himself. I mean, it is what it is, man. I don't know if that got anything to do with the way his performance on the football field, but hey, what you
got to win. If you can't win on the field, you win in the fashion world. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is, Rick.
Come on with this early morning shade, Ricky.
Hey, that's that positivity, man.
Last but not least, man, Cleveland Browns star wide receiver Odell Beckham has torn his ACL. He will be out for the rest of the season.
Man.
Baker Mayfield and the posse gonna have to move on without him. They're 5-2. So, hey, man, we wish him back to 100% health and just get that knee back ready to go for next year, dog. It is what it is. That's all I got for sports. Gary with the T. What's up there, Mike?
All right, y'all. Shaquille O'Neal is speaking out, and I think everybody should hear this, y'all. Now, they're saying despite not having a reported net worth, y'all, of over $400 million, y'all, NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal says that he used to be terrible with money. He says, y'all, that he got some good money advice early on from his mentor and former Lakers star Magic Johnson. Now, they're saying when Shaquille O'Neal was starting out, he said, I didn't have the intelligence around money. He told entrepreneur Shark Tank guy Damon Johnson. He said, in fact, he blew through his first $1 million paycheck in 1 hour. He said he bought matching Mercedes-Benz for him and his dad and expensive jewelry. He said, I had $1 million, but I wasn't netting $1 million. He said, I had no knowledge about FICA, state tax, and income tax. He said, even though now he signed on a $40 million contract with the Orlando Magic back in 1992, he said he didn't even have a financial or business acumen. Now, he also told John that it wasn't until he signed with Los Angeles Lakers in 1996 that he got the best money advice ever from Magic Johnson. Y'all, they're saying Shaquille owns so many businesses. They say he owns fitness gyms, restaurant franchises, car washes, his own line of branded products and partnerships with Papa John's and Carnival Cruise Lines, y'all, just to name a few.
That's
Isn't
awesome.
that nice? So, Ricky, when you got your first $100, I mean, did anybody give you advice or anything like that, or you just knew what to do with it?
No, I didn't have any advice until recently, about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then you knew what
sir.
to do. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, talking about, because you got to work with people that's not going to take anything from you either. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm just saying, I have had people take advantage.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good. You learned, and now you're working it out. All right, the color today is one of my favorite colors. My color today is pineapple. Okay, if you're letting. The color today is Pineapple Express. On the high end, you say Pineapple Express, and on the low end, you say Beautiful Yellow. That's your color for today.
All right, yeah, all right. I appreciate that, Gary.
Yes.
All right, y'all, 17 minutes after the hour, y'all. Hey, we got the hot spot coming up. Brett.
Yes.
All right, there you making sure you there.
I was waiting on Gary to talk.
Me too. I was like, wait, look at
Coming up next in the hot spot, y'all, Chris Brown goes off on his haters. And I'm going to tell you all about it. It's the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
Wake up, everybody.
Man, we back on?
Mike shit. We trying to wake up. We be trying to wake up, but great song, but it's just a little too slow for this early in the morning. I'm sorry, program directors. Y'all good?
Yeah.
Y'all stretch. Y'all stretch.
Gave myself a shot. We good, yeah.
We're going to have to play some Outcasts or something. Jesus. Brad, good morning.
Bombs over Baghdad. Good morning, Ricky. Good morning, everybody. I'm your girl, Brett Ted, and this is the Hot Spot, where we bring you music, movies, and more. So let's get off into this thing. Chris Brown got a message for his haters, y'all. He went off on Instagram and made it clear that he ain't with the comparisons. He wrote, shut up and just listen to my damn music. He said, only people that give a damn about others' personal problems have a personal problem. So please take it personal if I stunt or flex on you. I'm not you, and you could never be me. That lie was that we are the same, and no, we ain't. Know that. If I can't earn your respect, I'll earn your fear. You can't dim my light, but can't brighten yours by focusing on you. So hope this helped hurt some feelings too. It's unclear who he was talking about, but he made a point. So whoever he was talking to, I'm sure they knew. All right, y'all. Meanwhile, we're going to send prayers out to Jamie Foxx and his family because his younger sister, Deandra Dixon, has passed away. He confirmed the news on Instagram. Yesterday, he wrote, my heart is shattered into a million pieces. My beautiful, loving sister Deandra has transitioned. I say transitioned because she will always be alive Anyone who knew my sis knew that she was a bright light. I can't tell you how many times we've had parties at the house where she got on the dance floor and just stole the show. Even gave her boyfriend at Chris Brown Official a run for his money. Well, I know she's in heaven now dancing with her wings on. Though my pain is unbelievable, I smile when I think of all the great memories she left me. My family and her friends, from dancing in the Blame It video to dancing on the Grammys and becoming the ambassador to Act Global Down Syndrome, from sliding down my stairs with a grin as wide as the Rio Grande to serenading us with all of her music. DeAndre, you have left a hole in my heart, but I will fill it with all of the memories that you gave me. I love you with every ounce of me. Our family is shattered, but we will put the pieces back together with your love. Y'all, please keep my family in your prayers. So we praying for you, Jamie, and your family. I hate to hear that too. Man, anybody want to say about that?
I mean, Jamie Foxx is just one of the most genuine, nicest, kindest.
Yes.
You know, you don't ever feel like, you know, he's a celeb when you're around him. He's
That's
just
true.
Jamie. He's just fun.
Yeah.
You know, he make you comfortable. He'll do anything for you.
And he loved his sister.
And he
real
loved his family. And
Yes.
his sister, you know, he always talk about this, referred to his grandmother.
Yes.
You know, Jamie Foxx still got the piano that his grandmother, he got his grandmother's piano in his office in L.A.
Yes, he's just like us with the grandmother thing.
Yeah, man. He's a
grandmother.
very loving, special person. And, you know, our sympathies really go out to him.
Yes. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap up the hot spot. Coming up next, we got Special K with the news you absolutely positively cannot use. And y'all should hit us up with them wake-up calls at 1-866-9-RICKEY. That's 1-866-9-RICKEY. The time now is 26 minutes before the top of the hour. It's the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
All right, Rickey Smiley Morning Show, 12 before the top of the hour, y'all. Special K got news you can't use. What up?
Man, and you know what? Sometimes when the news of the current is just too disturbing, the reality of the current is just too disturbing to deal with, we got to dig into the future. And maybe it'll get better, maybe it'll get worse. But we got news you can't use from the future. Dave, give me some appropriate music. The year is 2044. 2044. And here's the news you can't use from the future. Senior citizen rappers Cardi B and husband Offset announced that they're getting remarried again for a sixth time after 5 divorces over the past 24 years.
Wow.
The Atlanta Pigeons, formerly named the Falcons, until the team was sold for $100,000 in the year 2025 after suffering a league record 117-game losing streak, finally signed quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who at 76 is now the second oldest quarterback in the NFL, behind 91-year-old Tom Brady, who just signed another 3-year deal.
Damn.
83-year-old actress Taraji P. Henson announced she just broke her 9th engagement in 25 years, but says she still has not given up on love. And finally, on a sad, sad note, and this one hits close to home, people, 81-year-old comedian and recently retired radio host Rickey Smiley was discovered in his Birmingham home by his longtime friend, Barefoot White Bobby. He was deceased.
Wow.
The beloved radio host was found in his bedroom on the floor, smothered under a pile of 650 chipmunks, all thought to be descendants of the ones that he had viciously assassinated back in 2020.
That's why my
Apparently they had all gathered.
That's why my ass slept on that couch last night. You believe?
Apparently they had all been gathering for years, waiting to get their revenge on the former radio host and former host of BET Comic View and star of the movie Friday After Next.
I promise.
Bobby killed them all with his bare hands and said that the Comic View host had put up a good fight.
Wow.
And was found still holding his pellet gun, and the TV was still playing pre-recorded episodes of My 600-Pound Life.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the size of it.
That's how it all ends, Rick.
So now you're going to have me build chicken wire around my bed.
On a good note, though, Bobby did take all the dead chipmunks and made some chipmunk dumplings.
Right.
And fed families all in the neighborhood that came through for the repast at Ricky's house. So it all ended well, and Bobby did keep the house for himself. So it all ended well, man. It all ends well. And now Barefoot Bobby resides at the Smiley Mansion, and he's still barefoot. So, yeah, news you can't use from the future when the current is just too damn disturbing.
Right.
Y'all hit me up at Special K913 on Twitter if you want more news from the future. If not, hey, let me know that too.
That is freaking hilarious. All right, y'all give it up for Special K.
Special K.
We got your wake-up call. You can get out of 8669 Ricky 8669 Rickey Smiley Morning Show. All right, 6 minutes after the hour, Gary has a tea and the clue today. What up, Gary?
Good morning, Ricky. Good morning, America. Good morning to you. It's Tuesday, a beautiful, beautiful day in the neighborhood. And here's what's happening in celebrity news, y'all. My heart is weeping, y'all. I'm sad, honey, for Miss Marion Robinson, y'all. Y'all know who Miss Marion is, y'all. That's the First Lady Michelle Obama's mama, y'all. It's being reported, y'all, that President Obama's youngest daughter, Sasha Obama, y'all, they're saying that she is trending, or was trending, I should say, on social media recently, y'all. I don't know if y'all have seen that video, but little Miss Sasha, y'all, she did a vulgar hip-hop TikTok video, and it's just not a good look, Ricky, y'all, for the First Lady and the President, y'all. Now they're saying, she was doing some rapping to the lyrics from the City Girls video album, whatever. They're saying Sasha and one of her pals were seen lip syncing to Moneybagg Yo's "Said Some" remix featuring the City Girls, and the rapper JT, they say, whose verse the duo is dancing to in the video, y'all. He reposted and what have you, and everybody talking about that and stuff. But Ricky, that's not a good look for Sasha. I don't believe she would even do something like that. They're saying, a lot of people are happy about it, but some people are saying that she is definitely beneath that.
She's young.
Yeah,
but
young,
they have to get it out their system, and she ain't smoking weed or nothing.
Not yet.
I'm sure it wasn't like, nasty.
It was probably just having fun. And you think, growing up as a child of the president, First Lady, you're tucked away all those years, and how old is she now? Isn't she
19.
like a young adult? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he's having fun.
Yeah, but your daddy was the president, though. I mean, even though the Bush girls did all kind of alcoholic things and stuff or whatever, but she is Sasha Obama. You can't do that. I mean, you know how black people are.
So
we are very
walk around with her hands in her lap all the time. Act like an old lady.
She need to do something like that. Then they got a picture of her in some booty shorts. That's not a good look, honey, for the First Lady.
She's a teenager, Gary.
Man,
let this girl live.
Crazy.
Gary, one of the people that be judging pastors' kids at church.
Ooh.
Look at her sitting over there. She need to cross her ankles. Got her legs crossed.
That's right. But I feel so sorry for Miss Marion. No, that's her granddaughter, honey. And honey, people probably saying, "Girl, I saw Sasha, baby, in that video." And that's not a good look for Miss Marion.
Ain't
but
none of Marion friends on TikTok.
Yeah, well, you never know. They got children, but I just feel bad. I just wish Sasha would do something a little bit more different than that. But she did what she did, and there you have it. Speaking of doing what they did, y'all, everybody's raving little Miss Blue Ivy, the beautiful daughter of Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, Blue Ivy, y'all, they're saying that she's showing off her dance moves in one of Beyonce's latest Ivy Park videos. And this girl split and carrying on and doing that and other stuff. And I just feel bad for her. Because this is a child. She's a child. I ain't never seen Blue Ivy yet on a school bus. Does she go to school?
An expensive private school. Yeah.
School bus. Her parents are billionaires.
It don't matter. Well, we need to see her with some colors. Also, I haven't seen Blue Ivy with no colors, nothing. I haven't seen nothing but just her dancing. That's not a good look to dance as a child. I mean, she should be
You didn't dance as a child, Gary?
No, I didn't dance as a child. Hell, I didn't know how to dance.
Right, what's wrong?
You was all on your toes.
Too busy doing splits and death drop.
Well, Gary, you know how people go in on Beyonce and Jay-Z. They always all up in their business, and they just probably trying to do their best to protect their kids. I did see some candid photos where they were going to some of her ballet rehearsals, when she was on stage. So they're trying to get her active and involved in the arts. They trademarked what her name, Blue Ivy, I believe. Yeah. For her to build a business in the future. So,
They just want her to be a child, Gary. They want her to enjoy her childhood.
Well, let us see her with some of her classmates or something. Every time I see her, she dancing or doing something like that.
It's okay that she dance. Thank God she's
baby
dancing
of
and
two
not doing
creative
something
people.
else.
She gonna dance.
Yeah, Michael Jackson didn't have a childhood, and then he became a grown man, was up in the trees with penny loafers on.
Thank you. Well, that's my point. So they should let them be a child.
Let her be a child.
Let her be a child, not a star at no child age. I mean, it's good that they wanted her to be a star or whatever later on, but she should be a child and she should play with baby dolls and have
I'm sure she does. I'm sure she has all that.
Yeah, well, we need to see it then, because I haven't seen anything yet of the sort. So I just feel so bad for him.
Don't feel bad for her. Trust me, she ain't losing no sleep, but you feel bad.
I'm trying to see if Blue Ivy need a big sister, because Jay-Z and Beyonce can adopt me anytime. I can be a great big sister. Okay.
Y'all so crazy. But anyway, let's just keep them lifted up in our prayers, y'all, because it's just a sad look. And we all love Beyonce and Blue Ivy, and we definitely love Sasha Obama, y'all. So we just don't want her to wind up going off doing something that's not really wholesome or whatever for the press. All right, the color today is one of my favorite colors. My color today, y'all, is Pineapple Express. On the high end, you say Pineapple Express, and on the low, you say Beautiful Yellow. That's your color for today.
It is. Y'all give it up for Gary with the team. All right, man, y'all get at me, man. Wake up calls 866-9-RICKY, 866-9-RICKEY. It's around the morning show. All right, here we go, y'all. Time for the wake up call. 23 minutes after the hour. Let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's time to get yourself together. Cause he woke you up this long, this laid you in your house shoes, so it would be better. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Encourage each other and be productive. The Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Wanna know where you calling from, so come on and tell us and just wake up.
Yeah, good morning. This is Johnny from Blakely. I want to wake Gary up. He must have forgot about what Tina did to them haters that was talking about her daughter. Keep speaking on her granddaughter. All right.
This is Jacqueline Nicholas from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, telling everybody, wake up, vote.
Good morning. I just want to wake up all them chipmunks inside Rickey house.
Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Good morning, Lincoln Heights, wake up. This is Miss Nettie calling. Wake up. Rickey Smiley Show is on.
Yo, wake up. Come on. Wake up. Hey. On your radio. It's a whole gang of cities tuned in, locked in. What's yours? Cause we gon' let them know. Where you at, Norfolk? Wake up. In Birmingham, wake up. Oklahoma, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. St. Louisville, wake up. New Orleans, wake up. Hey, Memphis, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Hey, appreciate it, Brad.
You welcome, Rickey.
We got church in 60 seconds with Pastor Fred. Brother Twan, you've been going through some things. You got Brother Twan that can't stop laughing. They got a laughing spirit. The devil just...
This is hard.
Yeah, what is he going through, Pastor Fred?
Well, you know, there's an inner tickle. There's an inner tickle that goes on. Gary, tell us about it. That inner tickle that goes on when you're just sitting at home by yourself and just...
Right, and when you're reminiscing from the past.
Oh, won't it do it?
It will do it. All the time you reminisce from the past, and then it's just something that just makes you laugh. It's like you get a tickle in all those tickly spots.
Speaking of Mike, say that again.
It's a tickle that you get in those tickly spots when you're just at home reminiscing from the past.
Right.
You remember they said reminisce from the love we had?
Yes.
And it just tickles you.
You almost get tickled saying tickle. just tickled. You know, when you think about the goodness of God and the goodness of God. When I think about where He's brought me from, when I think about all that He brought me through, times I couldn't pay my bills, times I had hard times. Now I can look at my refrigerator and say, I can look at my bank account. Thank you, God. You brought me from a mighty long way. That's by everybody who said I wasn't going to be nobody. Look them in the face and say,
All right, Pastor Fred, let everybody know how you can be reached.
You can follow me at the real Pastor Fred.
All right, y'all. Rick's About the Morning Show, Chicken and Waffle Mix coming up next. Savannah State University's own John Lyon on the 1 and 2. Hey, way to represent that bar.
Yeah, my best effort.
There it is, man. Hey, listen. It is Tuesday, and Black Tony didn't come to work yesterday.
Hey, don't ask me about no work today. I'm looking out for you, cuz. I'm finna get on the highway, so I'm on my way to Birmingham. I'm looking out for you, so I'm not.
What you going to Birmingham for?
I'm down for you, boy. Cuz, cuz I just Go there, Shawty, leave the door open at your crib, Shawty. We finna come over there. I'm bringing the whole crew over there, boy. Me, Pancake, all the boy. We coming over there, Shawty. We finna get... Shawty, I'm worried about you, cuz no animal keep attacking you, cuz you keep talking about it on the radio, Shawty. And I see you on paper talking about the animal was coming at you, Shawty.
Yeah,
and I said, the animal can't get my ball, man. Shawty, we coming over there. We scrapped up, boy. But we got the AK. We got
are you genuinely coming over? Are you genuinely?
We got the AR-15.
No, we don't need all that, Black Tony.
Shawty, we coming with it, boy. We finna come with it, boy. We finna get them up out your bedrooms. Shawty, I got 2 AK-47. I got an AR-15, but Pancake got the sawed off, Shawty. Oh, cuz, we finna get them folks up out your bedroom.
All you need is some hollow point pellets.
We ain't gonna let them kill you, Shawty. Shawty, we bringing that real, boy. We bringing that real, Shawty.
So y'all finna come shoot up? What, you gonna shoot up the whole bedroom for some chipmunks?
We finna go to war, Shawty. Yeah, we finna get them up out of there, cuz you ain't gotta worry about that no more.
Hey, Black Tony, I think they in my box spring. That's what I honestly believe.
Oh, Shawty, you ain't said nothing. We got a flamethrower too, Shawty. We stole it from Fort
So you can burn my house down over some chipmunks?
Anything for you, boss, man.
Hey, man, get off the phone. Stop playing. You play too much. We about to start laughing. My Black Tony, bye. Gary, what's wrong, Gary?
I get tight when that doggone commercial play, and I know your butt listening to it.
Boy, them syllables start coming in the middle of that, like right in the meat of it. Boy, that thing starts slowing down. Yes, sir. Boy, everybody in here just cringing. Just, oh, Lord Jesus, just let us make it.
Yeah, that word depth.
That's all right. Maria, they just jealous because they couldn't read it.
You sound amazing. You got it all the way through.
Maria, don't do that.
Come on, Gary.
Maria, stop. Maria, stop. Just
come on,
stop
Ricky,
it.
hush up. Yeah.
Maria, don't do that now. You're trying to help
Maria,
me.
at least we ain't got to cut and paste, baby. Look, Maria, at least we ain't got to cut and paste.
Ricky.
Stop the music. Stop the music.
Ricky.
Stop the music. Maria, I ain't cut and paste.
Turn my mic off.
I didn't cut and paste nothing. I read my commercials all the way through without any flaws for your
Maybe those
information,
girls
buddy.
ran out of tape cutting and pasting.
What's that, Gary?
Nah, don't come for me.
No worries, I won't. Hey, anyway, go on with your tea now.
Good morning, Ricky. Good morning, America. Good morning, the U.S. Tuesday, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And here's what's happening. So you got
See what I'm talking about, Brett?
Here's what's happening. Oh, well, Bradford to really laugh. All right, y'all. Everybody's talking about, honey, Lisa Marie McCoy, y'all. She announced the launch of her
Who's that?
Lisa Ray McCoy, I'm sorry. She announced the launch of her OnlyFans last week, y'all. Well, not everybody's saying, y'all, that rapper Meek Mills, y'all, expressed that he was interested in the VIP package, which prompted, y'all, Miss Lisa Ray, honey, to tell the rapper baby to come on through. Now, she said, is he in Atlanta? Now, Lisa Ray asked, honey, her cocktail and Queens co-host, to him, honey, she said, tell him, honey, that I'm here and tell him to pull through, come through. Now, the ladies discussed, you know, Meek's age and all that stuff. They said that he was in his mid-30s. And which, you know, earned their approval. And she said, quote, you never know what's behind the brand, honey, behind the face, behind the words. She said, you know what I mean? She said, I find it to always be a genuine attribute to be able to have a conversation with someone and let their guard down, and you let your guard down, and that preconceived notion of who you think they are, unquote. Isn't that beautiful? I think they make a great couple. So, Brad, I mean, that's your sister, don't you think? And that could be a good brother-in-law for you. Y'all both rappers and what have you. Don't you think that would be a nice thing?
No.
You don't
I
think?
have no idea what's going on with that, so I don't know what you want me to say, Gary.
No, I mean,
I think it's a publicity stunt. I think it's publicity.
So?
Yeah. Promote the OnlyFans page, start a conversation, have folks talking, get some subscriptions. I mean, if there is interest there, I think it's great, you know.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice if they could be together. I mean, they make a great couple, honey. I mean, it'd be great rappers in the family.
She ain't got time to be bothered with Meek Mill and his shenanigans. She done already been through too much. Brad, would that be a good assessment?
Yeah. I don't know, but I don't think that would be a good thing. I don't understand the connection.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're going to see how that turn out, honey, because I think it would be great together.
Because you're going to get with her, you need to come on out the streets and just let it all go and just let her get your cell phone and clean your cell phone out. You got to get all that garbage at your phone. You're going to be with her because she going to be serious and she would get you all the way together.
Now, well, speaking of cleaning out cell phones and getting folks together, baby, Miss Tiffany Haddish, baby, she didn't went in, honey, on her ex-boyfriends on her Instagram page, honey. Now she's saying, y'all, that she has a very happy, quote unquote, relationship, y'all, with Carmen, but she said that doesn't mean that she's forgotten all her terrible relationships of the past, honey. So she decided to unleash her true feelings, honey, about her ex-boyfriends in an Instagram post, y'all, that she didn't hold back. She said, "This is for most of my exes. Bits and pieces are for different ones." She said, "I'm sick of your," and she went on and on and stuff. But anyway, I'm going to just cut to the chase. She ain't that damn happy. Because if you that happy with Carmen, you wouldn't even worry about your ex-boyfriend. You wouldn't even talk to them. You wouldn't even talk about them, I would think. But she's out there, honey, addressing them, talking about they just want money and stuff like that. One of them called her, said he wanted to get back with her and all that stuff. I don't believe that.
I agree,
That's
Gary. That
point,
is awkward.
Gary.
Like, why are you talking about your exes? And let's talk about how long is this relationship between Carmen and Tiffany Haddish going to last?
Thank you.
What was Carmen's longest relationship?
Thank you. A week, because he don't keep them long.
Yeah.
Ooh, damn.
He don't keep them long, honey. So she out here talking about Carmen. Carmen ain't even said nothing about her yet. If you did, maybe one thing. So I'm like, good, you need to go back to your ex-boyfriends or what have you. Because trust me, it ain't a good thing with you and Carmen, honey. So, but anyway,
Gary, that's hateful.
When people gotta sit there and talk about their exes, Rick, and they so much in love with their current, that means something ain't right.
Right. You got to find somebody that'll help you get over your ex. That's the wrong way. That's how men deal with stuff.
Yeah, well, y'all didn't have to worry about getting over y'all exes. Y'all still be with your current and still, honey, messing with your ex. So it don't really matter for a man.
No, we don't. Men
Only
don't
if it's
cheat.
your baby mama and the child under 5.
What you say, Ricky? Men don't cheat? That's what you said?
No, dudes usually
gotta-
mess with their baby mama till the kid about 5, and then, they move on after that.
Right.
Yeah, Ricky said men don't cheat. Right. But
We
anyway,
got a whole support
congratulations.
group where we support men, and men, if you get the urge to get out there, we got meetings that we go to. We have twice a day. They kind of like AA meetings, and let men come and share about a chick they saw with a big butt, and they thought about it, and they was tempted to go in the DM and decided not to go in the DM. And there are a lot of support groups out there like, brother, don't do it. Make sure you take care of your relationship and love her. We have a support group now. Yeah.
You know what, Ricky? My husband tried to play it off. He saw this chick with some booty shorts on, and he looking at her like, why would she wear that, baby? I mean, look. That's how you do it. I'm like, listen, it's bright purple. I mean, why was she, in the way she walking?
Wait a minute, Maria.
Like,
wait a
boy,
minute.
you done gone somewhere.
He said that's
If
ridiculous.
he just looking.
Maria,
Walking
no
in the
lies
house with some
detected.
booty shorts on.
I swear that's what I used to say. Why would she wear something? I swear. He pulled a page out of my book. Look at that. Babe, look at that. Knowing you just looking at that booty. Look at that. Look, that's a damn shame.
Come on today is Pineapple Express on the high and yellow on the low. Y'all say something.
Maria, what did you say when he said that, Maria? What did you say to
Just
her?
nasty. Why would she wear that?
And what did you say, though? What did he say?
Boy, you staring at her booty.
All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show, 25 minutes after the hour, y'all. Listen, so a lot of stuff is going on. We got the one and only Bishop William Barber on with us this morning. So happy to have you. Always happy to have you on the show. I just absolutely love it. I have so much love and respect for you. William Barber, good morning, Bishop.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Do I have an echo?
No, I think you're good.
Oh, I'm good. Okay. But Doc, listen, I'm so glad that what you're doing, and I want to drop some stuff on the folks because I want people to understand what's going on. Yesterday, we saw the United States Senate with McConnell choose to put one woman on the court for life rather than protect people from going in a casket. I mean, that's some serious stuff, Doc. To choose one woman on the court rather than protecting people from being put in the casket. They'd rather stack the court than pass a stimulus. But what people need to know is that's people who got elected doing that. Now, that doesn't have to be. But it means we've got to turn out the vote. And I want to talk about this specifically. I know the news people are saying 62 million people have voted, and that's powerful and great. This is what I need folks to know. 62 million people have voted, but the last election in 2016, the total vote count was 127 million votes. So we're a long way from finishing this thing. Y'all are doing great, but we're a long ways from finishing this thing.
Yes, sir.
What you also need to know is in the last election, Donald Trump got 62 million votes. Hillary got 65 million votes. That's right. This is what I just said. He got 62 million. She got 65. He's president. She got 48% of the vote. He got 46% of the vote. She's president. Why? Because it's not just the popular vote. It's the Electoral College. And that means if we understand that we're serious about this election, here are some states that have got to turn out. Folks, y'all are listening to the Rickey Smiley show. He's trying to make sure you know what the deal is. Wisconsin got to turn. Michigan has to turn out. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida has to turn out. Ohio has to turn out. These are critical states when it comes down to the Electoral College. And then finally, you need to know, for the first time in history, you have 3 black men that are vying for the United States Senate. And they really have an opportunity to be in the United States. We've never seen this, Rickey, in history. You've got Warnock in Georgia. You have Harrison in South Carolina. You have Epson. Now, I'm not partisan. That's history. I'm just telling you who they are. It's up to you. You vote for. But this is serious business. And so we need folk in these states, Mississippi and Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina and Wisconsin and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan. I'm naming those states because those are critical states when it comes to the Electoral College. In America, it's not just the popular vote. It's the Electoral College. And that's 270. 270 is what you have to get to be president. You can actually lose the popular vote and still win the Electoral College. That's serious stuff that folk need to know.
Man, listen. So go ahead, Kate. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah.
I know you had one.
So Bishop Barber, President Trump's son-in-law and top advisor Jared Kushner said that Trump policies help the black community, quote, break out of the problems that they're complaining about, but he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be successful. What are your thoughts on this statement?
Yeah, you almost made me cuss this morning on this show.
Let it out. Hey, Bishop, go ahead and get it out your system, Bishop. Get it out.
First of all, that makes absolutely no sense. Number one, Trump said he did more for African Americans than Abraham, only president other than Abraham. That's just foolishness. Trump's policies, if you think about it right now, millions of people have lost health care. That's Trump's policies. He wants to take health care and end Obamacare. That's going to hurt millions of people. He claims that he did so much for black people in terms of unemployment. No, he inherited going there. What he did doesn't even compare to how far the unemployment rate dropped under Obama. He has lied about voter fraud. He has refused to support restoring the Voting Rights Act, which would lift black people up. He claims that he wants to do something with Tim Scott about opportunity zones. First of all, Democrats started the whole issue of opportunity zones. And Tim Scott in North and South Carolina, even though he's black, he votes all the time against the interests of black people, even in South Carolina. Kushner, that's an old line. In other words, what he really is saying is y'all don't want to do any better. And he's done all this stuff, but he can't help people. And the racist line is that's lazy and want to do anything anyway. I mean, it's an old line that comes out of a racist attitude toward black folks. What we really need to recognize is that Trump has been bad for black America. He's been bad for America. We got 30-some million people right now facing evictions. We've got millions and millions of people that are unemployed. The black folk are 5 times more likely poor folk, black folk, that die from COVID because he's in up response to COVID. If you could just go down the line and unpack how negative he's been toward black people, brown people, indigenous people, and even white people. I mean, Trump's so bad that he's hurt the folk that voted for him for the most part. And his policies are just bad. His appointments to the Supreme Court, they are against voting. But before they were even on the Supreme Court, they were against voting rights. They're against labor rights. They primarily vote in ways on the courts to treat corporations like people and people like things. I mean, all you have to do is just go down his policy. But what they are good at is lying with a straight face. I will give them that. They will tell a lie with a straight face every day. You just have to know the truth. And the best thing we could do is not be mad with Kushner, but go ahead on and turn these votes out, and we can change all of this.
So, Bishop, this question right here, people decided that since there were so many disparities with the mail-in voting, people decided to get up and put their life at risk and stand in line and vote. How does that look, Bishop?
It is a terrible reality, Rick, and this is the thing we need to know. Again, the Senate would choose one woman for the court, not protect her with a stimulus. You know, the Black Caucus and others asked for millions of dollars to expand the vote, to put more precincts in place, more voting precincts. They refused. I mean, what you see with these lines is deliberate voter suppression. You knew the vote. It's not like the election snuck up on you. You knew it was going to be in October and November. Election day is in November. Early vote probably start in October. We've known this. We've known this ever since 2016. It doesn't change. And so all this time there could have been plans. But what we're seeing now is a system that is designed to create a suppression. What we have to do is there's only one way to overcome voter suppression. You have to have voter aggression and voter participation, and you have to have voter determination. That's why we got to vote like never before. Yes, 62 million already, but even if 127 million people vote, Ricky, that's still 100 million people that haven't voted. Hear me now. Even if you get to 127 million, that's still 100 million that did not vote. So we need people to turn out. We don't know what it would look like if 75% of the people in this country vote. That's what we need. We need that kind of turnout, 75, 80% of the people to turn out, take the election, and then after the election, we got to work on these processes. But right now, put that mask on, double mask if you have to, wear some gloves if you have to, get some water, put a pack on, have something to eat, get your folding chair, stand 6 to 10 feet apart, but do not let them turn you around. Let me give you a quick story because I know you got to go. In 2016, I was in line, and in 2012, they were driving around with a truck with Obama and Hillary hung on this truck. They had like the effigies. And folks said, "Are you going to get out of line?" And I said, "No." They said, "Well, make them stop." I said, "Why? Let them drive around. And what we're going to do is stay right in this line. Stay right in this line and vote. Right. Do not let these folks turn you around. Do not do it." People fought for this. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. People have fought and died for this. Man, I'm so happy to have you. Now, we look forward to having you on for the next few days as we get into this final stretch. Y'all, please give it up for the president of the nonprofit organization Repairers of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, good friend of the morning show, Bishop William J. Barber, member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Hey, we love you, Bishop.
I love you too, Doc. Y'all almost make me cuss, but I'll come back every time.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Now I'm about to bring another member of Alpha Phi Alpha on the show. We got Jeff Johnson coming up next. Rickey Smiley Morning Show. All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Hey, the time right now is about 13 before the top of the hour. Y'all, Jeff Johnson got 3 things you need to know. What up, Jeff? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, brother. Listen, we right there.
Yes, sir.
We are at that final countdown till we're able to cast all the votes, and we keep talking about the fact that they're going to keep getting counted. But if there are not a bunch of reasons they keep rearing their head about if we were thinking about not going to the polls, why we need to. Let me give you a couple. I was amused at best and irritated at most to hear Jared Kushner, who, as most of you know, is the president's son-in-law and chief advisor. He said, Rick, and I quote, "The things we've seen in the black community, which is mostly Democrat, is that President Trump's policies are the policies that can help people break out of the problems that they're complaining about. But he can't want them to be more successful than they want to be successful."
Right.
What?
Yeah. That's what he said.
Really? The last I checked, I know dudes on the block who don't want to be successful. They want to be more successful than Trump wants us to be successful. So that's number one. Number two, I am tired of Donald Trump taking credit for things that have happened in the black community that were either, one, him riding the wave of an economic wave created by the Obama administration, and then three, taking credit for legislation and policies around criminal justice that aren't his. They are activists all around the country who have been doing this for longer than he's been in office. And if he responded to those activists, that's still the activist that brought it to his doorstep, not him that had some awakening of consciousness about focusing on justice reform. And so, listen, if that's not a reason, Philly yesterday is. And many of you have already seen the news over and over and over again and seen the video of Walter Wallace Jr. Being shot by Philadelphia police in the street in the middle of the day with his mama watching. And there's a couple things here, Rick, right? Because if I look at Biden's policy list and I look at several mayors' policy lists where they're talking about how do we ensure that we fund at a higher level mental health professionals, the police never should have been called to deal with Walter Wallace. Right. And the fact that they continually show over and 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 over again that they will watch a white guy with a gun do cartwheels towards them, cussing them out and spitting at them, and never shoot.
Right.
Ever. We've seen cops run from people not to shoot them. And when you have a mental health call that clearly is about how do we get mental health professionals to be able to de-escalate a situation versus police officers that clearly don't see this young man as human, because I don't care if he had a knife. There were 15 other ways to handle this situation than the way that it was handled. And even for this is why we got to vote, because these are officers. There should be laws in place, number one, that ensure that we are funding mental health professionals at the municipal level to ensure that when 911 gets a call about the mental health call, that they get dispatched versus police officers get dispatched. And two, you know that this kind of shooting never gets added to a database because so often we're not collecting data on police misconduct or police excessive force, so that there's not a level of accountability. And again, I'm seeing this in Biden's platform. And I want to be real clear. I voted this morning, Rick.
Right.
And when I voted, I didn't vote for Biden. I didn't vote for the cat that was on the ballot for mayor in Baltimore. I didn't vote for the brother who was on for city council. I voted for my daughter. I voted for my son. I voted for my wife. I voted for my community. And so while I may have pushed the lever for Joe Biden, I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I voted for my family.
Right.
And we got to be really clear, you all, when we're going into the booth or you're sending in your ballot, that you're voting for your family, for the things that piss you off, for the things you care about, for the things you want, for the future you want. And these are just people who are the best options to carry that forward, not perfect deities that are designed to do everything right in the name of you deciding whether they should be canceled for something that they did 15 years ago, or saying, damn it, I'm going to use them to get the most I can get in this moment That's what our vote is about. And so I hope for those of you that have not yet voted that you go. For those that haven't filled out your ballot yet, that you will, that you make your plan in these last 7 days and get these vote cast as early as possible. November 3rd is just the last day to vote. It's not the only day to vote. And so go now if you can. Send that joint in right now if you can. Don't wait till November 3rd because we got to get these things counted fast and early. Rick, those are 3 things I got for you. Y'all can hit me at Jeff's Nation on all social media. Y'all get out and get counted. I'll talk to you.
Man, I appreciate that, Jeff, man. Thank you so much, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Johnson. Coming up, man. We got songs that will stay in your head all day. Up next, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Do y'all know who sing that song?
Yes. That's Winona.
Janet Dubois.
Oh, sure was.
Yes.
Man, but I love when that baby break down when that beat boom, 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 boom. And then they start humming. Now we're up in the big league.
Yeah.
Now turn that back.
It's got that gospel flavor to it.
You and me, baby. It ain't nothing wrong with that.
Words to it. How old was I really learned the words? Because I just really learned the words to it some years ago.
Me too, Gary. Like maybe within the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, man.
Exactly.
When it was out, it was words.
Crazy.
We had to learn that when it was out, honey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Y'all just lost y'all black card.
Okay.
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Getting our turn at best.
Right.
Getting our turn at best.
Yeah,
I shake my tambourine.
It's
That's
not
what I
turn
do.
it bad.
I thought it was bad.
I thought it was bad.
Best.
See, look at this. See, look at you.
We moving on up. We getting our turn at best.
No, we getting our turn at
best. Yeah, look it up, Gary. You know all the
But it
words.
said
Getting our turn at
no.
bat.
It says getting our
It's
turn.
bat.
It said at bat. It is bat.
Yeah, like
I thought it was best. See?
Yeah.
bat.
Like it's your turn. Hold on, okay. It's your turn to hit the ball.
Gotcha.
Getting our turn at bat. All right,
Yes.
Here we go. Here's another one, Brad. Well, let me tell y'all something. Y'all need to make sure that y'all are listening to this segment because I got theme songs from TV shows all week long, and I am saving my favorite for Friday because y'all know I love the Bosom Buddies. You heard me? More Rickey Smiley Morning Show coming up. And we got the one and only Mr. Thomas up next. All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show, 11 minutes after the hour, y'all. Hey, listen, we got the one and only Mr. Thomas in the building. Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas.
Hey there. How you doing? How you doing, nephew?
Man, I'm doing good, Mr. Thomas. So happy to have you this morning, man, and thank you for coming on this morning because, you know, even though we're going through a pandemic, even though we got an election coming up, man, people are still out here using drugs.
Yeah.
And just a lot going on, Mr. Thomas. How you been feeling, man?
Yeah. We got pandemic, we got elections, we got all kind of stuff going on out in the world. You got folks catching the doggone corona. I'm telling you, these kids need to put the drugs down, stop messing with the reaper because it messes with your lungs. If you mess with your lungs, you ain't going to be able to breathe. What's wrong with you?
Mr. Thomas, are you staying safe? Do you wear your mask?
I put a few masks on. That's right. I put my mask on when I fix my carburetor. I put the mask on when I trying to fix the transmission. I put the mask on when I try to go in there and make me a sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. And I put the mask on, the one that they use on the hair, the cafeteria ladies at the high schools. I put that one on my head and my face too. I put my mask on every chance I can get.
Now, Mr. Thomas, go ahead and say good morning. Sitting in for Eva Marcel, we got Maria Moore, and shout out your best friend somewhere in Florida.
You better believe it. Maria Moore, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm
that's Mr. Thomas.
What church you go to the way you talk to me like that?
I really don't have a church home. Do you have one you can recommend?
Yeah, I got one for you. Two Life Baptist Church. Reverend Luther Campbell's the pastor. Don't stop in ministry.
Wait a minute.
Maria, when you walk up in there, soon as you walk up in there, Maria, don't stop. Get it. Work. That thing. Pray that thing. Bless that thing.
There it is.
Yes. Sounds like my kind of service, Mr. Thomas.
Hey, that's a nice service, I'm telling you now. And I'm telling you, right down there in Okeechobee, in Florida, Fort Pierce, and I'm going to tell you, we got the only Maestro Pal from Wabasso, Florida. Maria, you ain't had a good orange in your life. You ain't had a good glass of orange juice in your life until you went to Wabasso.
Right. Wabasso. Okay.
Wabasso, Florida.
Maria, you went to FAMU. Do you know anything about Wabasso, Florida?
I don't. I've never heard of that city.
What in the
How many people
world?
live there?
Well, let me see. Now, we got 14. Well, Barbara Jean just passed. 12 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Barbara Jean. Oh, Barbara Jean.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Thomas.
Barbara Jean.
Yeah, don't get yourself upset, Mr. Thomas. Now, Mr. Thomas.
Barbara Jean.
Yeah, she gone. Lord, and took her home.
So took her home. But I'm going to tell you, Maria.
Yes.
Listen here. This is a song so near and dear to my heart because it's about getting these cheerings off the drugs. Ricky, somebody crank it up. Put it on
Let's go.
I got to speak and talk to these people. There you go. There you go right there.
Come on, Mr. Thomas.
You don't have to do drugs.
Come on.
Make a living. Yes, sir. Oh, no. You don't have to do drugs. Now, Maria, this what it'll do to you. It'll make you think. Get in the head.
Sing it, Mr. Thomas.
Before you know it, it'll kill your day. Can't you see yourself what?
Here she go.
This is what I want you to do. Come on to Jesus!
Yes, sir.
Is this what you got to do? You need to get up off it cocaine. Get up off it crack.
Get off it.
Here. Get yourself together. And get your mind back.
Yeah, you don't have to do drugs, Mr. Thomas.
You don't have to do drugs.
Ladies and gentlemen, y'all give it up and show your love for the one and only Mr. Thomas trying to keep us drug-free. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We love you, man.
Changing lives.
Have a blessed day, and we are so sorry about the loss of Bobby Jean, Mr. Thomas.
Yes, sir. Y'all keep praying. If I helped anybody this morning, anybody, I done did my job.
Yes.
Amen. Hey, the one and only Mr. Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Rick's on the Morning Show, 25 minutes after the hour. Y'all, the segment's being brought to you by Track Phone. That's right, man. Straight Talk Wireless new Platinum Unlimited plan includes phone protection, just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, data, and more. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Assyrian.com. Assyrian.com/straight talk. Limitations and exclusions apply. What up? Sitting in for Eva Marcel. We got the one and only Maria Moore. What up this morning?
Good morning, Ricky. Here are some of the stories trending on the front page. The Department of Homeland Security is preparing for the possibility of civil unrest after the election as African Americans are continuing to protest police brutality. Protests erupted overnight in Philadelphia after officers fatally shot Walter Wallace Jr., a 27-year-old black man who they say was armed with a knife. A police vehicle was set on fire, crowds threw bricks at police, and one officer was hospitalized after getting run over by a truck. Police body cam footage was released this week, hopefully leading to answers as to why police opened fire on an unarmed couple in Illinois last week. Marcellus Stinnett, 19, was killed, and his 20-year-old girlfriend, Tafara Williams, remains in a hospital with multiple gunshot wounds. In coronavirus news, the U.S. has seen almost 500,000 new cases of COVID-19 in this past week, and the American Academy of Pediatrics says it's seen a 14% increase in child COVID-19 cases over the last 2 weeks. A Senate confirmed Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, and the White House held a constitutional swearing-in ceremony last night. The court now holds a 6-3 conservative majority, and consequences of that ratio could come into play almost immediately. The Supreme Court is set to make key decisions about President Trump's taxes, the Affordable Care Act, abortion law, and several election cases. Lastly, the election is 1 week away, and if you don't plan to go to the polls, the U.S. Postal Service recommends that you get your ballot in the mail today to ensure it arrives by Election Day. I'm Maria Moore filling in for Eva Marcel. That's what's happening in the news. Rock T, what's up in sports?
Well, I'm about to tell you, Maria. L.A. Rams beat the Chicago Bears last night on Monday Night Football. We're going to see if Chicago is for real, like they jumped out to a fast start. We got a lot of season left. In the meantime, the Cleveland Browns, they lose their star wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., for the entire year. He has a torn ACL. Of course, the Cleveland Browns are 5-2. So Baker Mayfield and the posse got to continue to move on without him. Will they continue to win? Only time will tell. In the meantime, Cam Newton is embarrassed, and he admits that his starting job is in jeopardy right there out there in New England with the Patriots, man. They lose 3 games in a row. He was benched this past weekend. If you guys wasn't aware of that, throwing 3 interceptions. Matter of fact, former San Francisco 49er quarterback Jeff Garcia not only has a problem with how Cam has been performing on the field, he also has a problem with how he dresses. He's saying that Cam should only dress swaggy when you're winning. Cam's fashion choices prove he only cares about himself, meaning he should tone down the way he dresses to bring less attention to himself. I don't know about the way he dresses has anything to do about how he plays on the field, but hey, it is what it is, man. Everybody got their own opinion. That's what I got for sports right there. Brett got the hot spot right now. Let's go.
The hot spot.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
So hot and that's hot. You can catch me at the hot spot. It's the BR18.
All right, 29 minutes after the hour, y'all. It's time for the hot spot with the Brat. She's back. What up?
What up, Ricky? Good morning, everybody. I'm your girl, Brett Tat, and this is the hot spot where we bring you music, movies, and more. So let's get off into this thing. The Weeknd, Roddy Ricch, and Meg Thee Stallion all came out on top with the most American Music Awards nominations. Roddy Ricch snagged 8 nominations, including Artist of the Year, and Meg Thee Stallion made her American Music Award debut with 5 nominations. So congratulations to them. The event is expected to be held at the Los Angeles Microsoft Theater and aired live for us to see on ABC on November 22nd. Also making a comeback to NBC's platform Peacock, the reboot of New York Undercover. Yes, indeed. They said it's still hip-hop, but New York has changed. So picking up 20 years after the end of the iconic series that changed the face of TV cop dramas, New York Undercover will follow detectives Nat Gilmore and Melissa Ortiz, the same people which are played by Malik Yoba and Lauren Velez. They're said to return, and they're going to investigate the city's most dangerous criminals from Harlem to Battery Park. So that should be interesting to see how they have evolved in the future. Also, y'all, Yara Shahidi and Freedom have announced a 2-part voting series called The Clock is Ticking. This is amazing. The show will air on the network today and on Election Day, November 3rd. And the first part of the series walks you through the election ballot. And Yari said in the statement from Freeform, first-time voters have the powerful opportunity to help determine the outcome of the upcoming presidential election alongside the down ballot. She said, my new digital series, The Clock is Ticking, aims to empower and equip my peers who are young change makers with the tools and resources to assist in the voting preparation process. I think that is amazing. And last but not least, the late Chadwick Boseman has put his John Hancock on a copy of the first Black Panther comic. Now, this has skyrocketed in value, and they said it's going to get a pretty penny at this auction. Nate D. Sanders Auction is putting up the rare autograph book, and it's going to be up for grabs October 29th with the opening bid starting at $8,000. But it's expected that we're told to reach anywhere in the ballpark of $25K when it is all said and done. And last but not least, I know I said that before, but I had to throw this in there. Jay-Z has announced another investment to his repertoire, darling, because he's hopping into the marijuana business. That's right, y'all. Rap's first big Arena is releasing his strand called Monogram. He said it's going to redefine what cannabis means to consumers today through careful strain selection, meticulous cultivation practices, and uncompromising quality. He said to help promote the Monogram, he did a new playlist on Tidal called Monogram Sounds from the Grow Room with some chill vibes from Peter Tosh, Legalize It, Fela Kuti's Expensive Shoe, and many more good songs that you can just relax to and put one in the air. So I'm not mad at that, Jay-Z. All right, y'all, we're going to wrap up the hot spot right there. Coming up next, we got Talk It Out Tuesday with Yanetta Spring, and we got the praise mix down with the White Stone. The time now is 25 minutes before the top of the hour. It's the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Hey, listen, it is Talk It Out Tuesday with licensed professional counselor Yanetta Spring. Hey, good morning, Yanetta.
Hey, good morning, Ricky. Good morning, y'all. How y'all doing today?
Man, we doing good. Happy to have you this morning. A lot going on. And, first of all, thank you for coming on the show talking about mental health, because we need to take it serious, because we need all the help we can get. Now, we are 1 week away from Election Day. Some people are really nervous about how this could go to the point where they are having election anxiety. And I'm sure you got some tips on helping people how to deal with November the 3rd and what happens after that from a mental health perspective.
Elections kind of bring up anxiety just generally, but the way that 2020 has showed up, and showed out is normal to think, to be thinking like, what else could possibly go wrong, and that's basically what anxiety is. It's just that excessive nervousness, apprehension, fear of what the future could look like. So I'm going to share some statistics with you. The American Psychological Association conducted a Stress in America survey, and they found that about 56% of the respondents identified that the 2020 election was a significant stressor. And that was at the top of the year. So at the middle of June, like around June, the Center for Disease Control reported that the highest amount of anxiety was among young adults, Black, Latinos, just people, people of all ages in that demographic, So the prevalence of anxiety symptoms among everybody across the board is 3 times higher than it was last year. So I just thought it was important to share that, because that is a big deal, That's a huge deal. So, occasional anxiety is fine, but that's normal, right? But if you have prolonged anxiety, that can result in mental illness, as well as it can manifest into physical illness, So a few ways that, I want to share with you guys to like how to deal with the election anxiety is to, number one, vote early, right? Putting things off and procrastinating in general is going to increase your anxiety because you don't know what next week is going to look like. So if you can, vote early, okay? The next one is to take the day off. Like, if you can, everybody doesn't have that option, but if you could take the day off after the day of, take it off just as a precaution. The next one is to refrain from engaging in heavy political conversations, right? For me, as a root, I check in with myself. If I don't have the capacity or the energy to engage or go back, I don't, and that's okay for you to do that as well. It's important to have these conversations. You just may not need to have it right now, and you get to choose when you engage in those types of conversations. The next one is just to check in, right? Check in and notice what's happening in your body. Are your muscles tense? Is your body tight? If you are, then more than likely you're stressed, and that's the stress manifesting in your body. So just intentionally pausing and relaxing and releasing the muscles in your body can be helpful. And asking yourself, I think a lot of us come into this space where we feel like we could be doing more, so just asking yourself, are you doing the best you can right now? And if you can't, if you are, just accepting that that's enough. And then if not, then asking yourself, like, how can I do more? Like, what else could I do? Taking somebody to the polls, encouraging somebody to vote, posting a selfie of yourself after you vote. Those things make a difference, so being able to do that. And then deleting and unfollowing negative rhetoric. You don't have to consume what everybody offers. If it's insensitive, if it's racist, you have the freedom to delete and unfollow, or just disengaging from the media altogether around this time. Ultimately, this is the last one, is just supporting each other. And this can be done through your family, your friends. You can schedule a Zoom meeting just to check in with each other. Dr. Joy Harden Bradford, the founder of Therapy for Black Girls, she's holding a self-care suite, for her community during election day so everybody can just check in with each other. Because a big part of managing anxiety is being able to accept the thing that you fear rather than just avoiding it. And the problems that we've encountered this year alone, you know, they won't magically go away after the election, but our vote can determine if we are moving towards a solution rather than further away from it. That's what I have, those 7 tips, you know, just to kind of alleviate and relieve some of this anxiety that we are all feeling, you know, around election.
Everybody's having anxiety. Is anybody, Maria, Brent, y'all having any type of anxiety about the election?
Well, I always have anxiety, okay? And when people come in my comments with negativity, I immediately delete the comment and make sure I block them, or make sure if I'm following them, I unfollow them, because besides the election, we have life in general and all this stuff going on in the world. So why add more negativity to your life that you don't need? It's hard enough dealing with the hands that we were dealt. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. Netta, I have a question for you. You know, when we think in terms of the election and future leadership, we know can impact our lives, but it doesn't have to dictate our lives. What are some things we can do to boost our self-confidence and pay attention, give more focus to the things that we can control?
You know, really looking at how far we've come. You know, because I think sometimes we focus on how far we have to go, you know, but just really looking at, you know, the people that came before us and how they fought and how they stood in lines and how much they did to get us to this point, and just remaining hopeful and just being able to reflect on that.
That's awesome. You know, that's so awesome. Thank you for all that wonderful information. Let everybody know how they can reach you in case they have any questions.
Yeah, if you have any questions or, you know, you want to follow me on social media, you can follow Spring Forth Counseling. You can also check out my YouTube page, Yanetta Spring. And if you want to subscribe to my mailing list, you can text the word SPRING to 55444.
All right, Yanetta, thank you so much. That was one of the most informative, especially with this coming up, because I promise you, I have butterflies in my stomach every day, and I cannot stop watching the news and the polls and all that stuff. That was so helpful, insightful, and important. Thank you so much, Counselor.
No problem. No problem at all. And you guys are in there, so take a break, step away from it as often as you can. You know?
Okay, I'm going to turn it back on to my 600-pound life and start with it.
Turn off the news, Ricky. Turn off the news.
That's right, because Counselor Spring, at least I can get some good recipes off of it. Did y'all see that episode when she put them potato tots on top of that stuff with that little white gravy on? We'll talk about it. I'm sorry, Counselor Spring. I'm having an ADHD moment. Maybe I need an Adderall. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Rickey Smiley morning.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Cedric Spencer, the International Social Action Chair for Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you for joining us this evening. As you know, this upcoming election, every vote counts. It is the most consequential election of our lifetime. In 2016, only 56% of the eligible Black voters participated in the election, compared to 66% in 2012. There was a difference of how Black females voted versus Black males. 94% of Black females who voted supported Clinton, but she only received 80% of the Black male vote. In fact, 13% of Black males voted for Donald Trump. So both parties are fighting for the Black vote, but most importantly, the Black male vote. And this is why we're here today. We have an awesome panel to discuss why Blacks must vote. But before we start, our Grand Chaplain will lead us in a prayer. After the Grand Chaplain, our moderator, the Grand Bossless of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Brother David Marion, will begin the conversation. Brother Grand Chaplain, you have the virtual floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Spencer. Brothers, let's pray together. Gracious God of our weary years and silent tears, we heartily thank you for bringing us together and for bringing us thus far on our way. We thank you for grace and mercy extended to us from our mother's womb, and we owe you so much praise and thanks. We thank you for the victories that have come our way simply because we dared to pray and put you first ahead of our aspirations. Loving Creator, we understand the fierce urgency of now. We understand why we cannot wait for another team, another time, another turn to exercise our right to vote. Thank you for this time together tonight as we seek to empower our brothers and others of darker hue. We pray that you will also empower our leader, Dr. David Marion, and other brother panelists to not only inspire us, but to incite us to do what is best during this critical and consequential election. We pray that as a direct result of our time together, there will be an extremely high percentage of voter turnout from all people, especially those, the male voters, the Black male voter. We pray that no suppression will diminish our enthusiasm or quiet our voices or stop our votes. We pray that no provocation will move us away from our goals or deter our motives. Give us, O Lord, the strength and the courage of our convictions to vote like our very lives depend on it. And, oh God, if you do each and every one of these things that we've asked tonight, do these things for us, and we'll be careful to pause and give you thanks. It's in the matchless name of that Negro from Nazareth, named Jesus, that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Grand Chaplain, Dr. Walter T. Richardson. We thank you for your leadership, your spiritual leadership of this great fraternity. We also want to thank Brother Cedric Spencer for his leadership of the International Social Action Committee. He's done an outstanding job throughout this election season. And we appreciate this symposium called The Final Stretch. We know that this presentation is open to not only members of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, but also members of the other Divine Nine and others who are not members of a fraternity or sorority. And in this day and time, all of us have to come together for the season in which we now find ourselves. This symposium is called The Final Stretch. And I certainly want to greet you on behalf of almost 200,000 initiated men in 750 chapters in 15 countries of an organization we love, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And I stand here as their Grand Basileus. I want to thank our panelists. We first have Paul Anderson, who is the assistant to the Grand Basileus. He is he served 2 years as the international undergraduate representative to the Supreme Council. He is a recent graduate of the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. And so we appreciate his youthful appearance and what he will bring to this discussion from a young African male's perspective. Also want to thank D.L. Hughley, our brother D.L. Hughley, actor, political commentator, radio host, author. I said author already. I said actor, author though as well, and stand-up comedian. And so we're pleased to have both of these brothers joining me and the men of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity this evening to discuss the choices facing our nation. We also want to tell you that this is a fast-paced hour, probably an hour and 10 minutes. We may have some drop-ins by our fraternity brother, Rickey Smiley, if he gets a chance to swing by. And also our Ricky's already in the house. Look at Rickey in the house already. Look at you, brother. Good to see you, man.
I've been sitting here an hour. I'm ready.
All right. Well, we know you're ready. We thank you, brother. We know Rickey Smiley, stand-up comedian, television host, actor, and radio personality. Our fraternity brother. We love him. We appreciate him so much. He represents the Omega Psi Phi fraternity well. We also may have a pop-in by Steve Harvey. I'm going to see if Steve's going to do the same thing you did, Rickey. I don't know if he's on go already like that. Steve Harvey may poke his head in. But let's get in it. Voting is underway in most of the country, and initial reports indicate an extraordinary high voter turnout, especially among African Americans. Our goal this evening is to continue the momentum through Election Day. We know this is an election season, and November 3rd is the last day to vote. There is a phrase that is relevant to this election, and it is never let your emotions overpower your intelligence. Hitler once said, how good it is for rulers that men don't think. When I was young, old folks would talk about going to the polls, and they would say that they were going to vote between Satan and the devil. But regardless of their choices, they voted. They knew the sacrifices that were made to have a right to vote and the power that came with the act of voting. Representative Clyburn, our fraternity brother, said, God Almighty is not on the ballot. Representative Marsha Fudge, our sorority sister, said, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. With that, what do we say to the unenthusiastic voter? The voter who knows they should vote, but they are still upset about the primary, can't get excited about this election, or disillusioned about the political process. What would you say, Brother Smiley, about why you vote and why this unenthusiastic voter should do the same?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I'm proud and honored to be here. I think it's very important that we vote. I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, back here in the South, in the heart of Dixie, as they say. When you join the church, you had to become a member of the NAACP right when you give your life to Christ. My pastor was Reverend Edwin Gardner. He was one of Dr. King's soldiers. The pastor study was filled with pictures with our pastor and Dr. King. He was one of the original members of the SCLC. So I've been a lifetime member of the NAACP and the SCLC. I participated in my first march when Benita Carter was murdered, a black woman who was shot in the back by a white police officer, George Sand, in 1979. I'll never forget it. All the civil rights leaders came to Birmingham, and there was riots here before any of this stuff. And I saw it with my own eyes. I was a kid when the police came through the projects and shut out all of the street lights and just the riots that was going on in Birmingham. And I've been active ever since. It's important. People have made ultimate sacrifices for us to vote. Medgar Evers was killed, Dr. King, Representative John Lewis. People have paid a heavy price for us to have the opportunity that we have. And no, things are not going to be perfect. No, we're not going to get everything that we want, but you have to vote. As far as the young kids, I struggle with that because I'm really angry at them right now. It's something about this new generation, these millennials, that's just something you can't, it's hard to reach them. But I have been effective in reaching young men in their 30s, their 30s and their 40s, because we get testimonials all the time. We play this particular speech at the top of the hour, every hour on my radio show, by the pastor in Alexandria, Virginia. Made a powerful speech about how dare you not vote. That's what I call it, how dare you not vote. And it's so powerful, and I drop a little Marvin Gaye instrumental up under it, and it would bring you to tears. So I thought that this speech was so good that I would play it at the top of the hour. So I have gotten so many testimonies of men that said that they were not going out to vote, that's in their 30s and 40s, that said they're going out as first-time voters because they heard that particular clip that we play every single day at the top of the hour. So that's 3 times a day, every day for the past 2 weeks, leading all the way up until election day. And but the younger guys, the millennials, the conspiracy theorists like my son or whatever, it's just hard to have a conversation. I get so mad, I just can't deal with my son around election time. You can't make them do nothing or whatever. You just have to just try to focus on the ones that will listen and that want to vote. I don't know what to do because I don't. But
that might be a good segue to Paul. Paul's a young brother, and maybe you can speak to what Rickey was talking about in terms of young people and some of the unenthusiasm we see.
Absolutely, Bert Grand. Thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to speak and represent. I think one of the biggest things is that, us as young people, we just don't feel like our vote counts. Unfortunately, we have been led to believe, and the statistics and the signs and everything that we've been fed through these devices right here that we see tells us that no matter what you do, no matter how you vote, no matter how much you yell, scream, throw a temper tantrum, that in the grand scheme of things, will it really matter? And I think that it's that spirit of feeling defeated before you even come to the polls that's really stopping young voters, those first-time voters, from actually coming out. But I think that there is a little bit of encouragement to be given here, which is in some of the battleground states. I saw this a few days ago. A friend of mine shared it with me. Then some of these battleground states in my home state, North Carolina, there was about maybe 25,000 that were voting around this time in 2016. But now there's over 200,000 voting in North Carolina alone. But I think the biggest thing is that they just feel defeated. And I think the key to reaching them is for them to realize that their voice counts and that their vote counts, not simply just for a presidential election, but for these local elections, for them to get involved. And the reality is, when you're so caught up in this and everything that you get and receive is through this device, you don't really pay attention to what's going on in your community until it directly affects you.
Okay. DL, what do you think? The unenthusiastic voter, just in general, know they need to vote, but they're just not enthused by this ticket. Again, I'll say that Brother Clyburn said God Almighty is not on the ballot. But what do you think we could say to get that unenthusiastic voter out to the polls?
Well, thank you for your invitation, Brother Grant. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll see you, Brother Paul, in about 2 hours, I'm sure, on something. It's good to see you too. And this is the first time I've seen you since you've been my friend. Good to see you, Rick. But I just wanted to say that we have to take our part as a society in general, because we allow people to make it harder to vote. As things have gotten more and more convenient, you can get an app, have an app that can bring you virtually everything you want, from cars to food to alcohol in some cases, virtually everything you want. But we made voting harder, and so there is a certain level of responsibility that we, who have been voting for a while, have to we have to take a level of responsibility in that. But and I also think that it's a pragmatic thing. I understand. I don't like going to the doctor. I'm never enthusiastic about it, but I understand that if I go, it increases my chances of having a longer, healthier life. You may not be enthusiastic about school, but you understand that having an education makes inroads that you couldn't make by yourself. And so enthusiasm shouldn't be a requirement. I mean, that's obvious. But you're not enthusiastic about having a balanced diet, but you understand the results of it. But really, on a more basic level, you are voting whether you're showing up to do it or not. Your silence is filled by a vacuum, and that vacuum is generally used by the people who represent the vote. Old white people will decide how our country goes because we're not there. Put it at a basic level. Once you become an adult, would you let your parents set the rules of your house? Would you let somebody come in and tell you what you had to do? And that is what you do when you don't vote. When you don't vote, you're letting other people set the rules of the house. Even people who have protests at the end, after they finish marching, they have to march to a politician or a legislator to enact the things that they are asking for. So and I think particularly in this time, and I think it's a very stark example, the country has yelled Black Lives Matter. And if Black men don't show up at the polls in the hopes of changing those things into actual legislation that help us, i.e. police reform, some of the things that deal with systemic biases, then people will see if it's not important to us, because everybody can't vote for our survival on a higher level than we do. So it's a very basic thing. Black people don't vote for enthusiasm. Black people vote to survive. So literally, I think that's what we're talking about, the propagation of a species, our survival.
One of the initiatives going on right now with the fraternities is an initiative called Black Men Vote. And all of the fraternities are working hard to get out 1 million more African-American men to the polls. And so you saw us do a town hall meeting with Derek Johnson, president of the NAACP. We've gotten an outstanding response on that. And our focus has been on that because the sorority presidents have done a good job in getting out Black women to vote. And so we wanted to do our job because, in 1870, when the 15th Amendment was ratified, it granted Black men the right to vote. But that's when you started having issues of voter suppression and intimidation. And so my question to you is that there's many people in the African-American community that don't seem to believe that voter suppression and intimidation till it still exists today. How do we get our people to see that reality and the reality that DL just talked about of the barriers to vote, the barriers to vote, the difficulty of getting to the polls, having the time to invest and waiting in long lines, having jobs that do not allow you time off to vote, not having sufficient child care, adequate transportation. All of these can be insurmountable barriers if there is not enough help to navigate them. How do we do that? Let me start off with you, DL.
I think it's you just nailed it. Look, when they steal your mailboxes, that lets you know they don't want you to put nothing in them. Like when literally they've stolen the mailboxes, they've stacked the justices. Right now, they insisted on. Right now, many of you who are not voting and asking for regress for the government in terms of stimulus checks. Well, they would rather put in a Supreme Court justice that yields the result they want in terms of some civil rights acts, in terms of some voting rights acts. They would rather do that than help you. But the bottom line is this: why have such extreme measures always been aimed at mitigating black vote? And why is it right now that black women have gone through exactly some of the things people don't really understand that? I don't think we've ever seen what has happened to black women in history, from women who literally were raped and brutalized and sold and had to still hold a family together, to using their political wit and wherewithal and demographic power to make sure that that president had to pick a black woman. He had to do it. And they didn't do it with saber rattling. They didn't do it with bellicosity. They didn't do it with being belligerent. They were insistent. They showed up in large numbers and they wielded political power. And if black men want some of the things that we know we need for our family, it is our responsibility to take care of our woman, not just from a physical fight or not just to keep a roof over her head. It's our responsibility to make her life easier and our children's life easier. And one of the things you do that, unfortunately, is through the democratic voting process. Black women right now has showed us what consistent. If you look at Alabama, where Rickey lives, they were able. Black women voted at 96%. Doug Jones was elected, but it was that 94% of black women and the black men came out and voted. I get a white dude riding to the poll down the street to the polls on a horse might have helped, but I'm telling you that all of a sudden that melding of black women and black men working together showed us what we can do. I think that their ability to have their wishes met and Kamala Harris being the vice presidential candidate shows us what we can do. And the fact that they're scrambling right now, the Supreme Court ruled yesterday that in Wisconsin, it wouldn't count votes after mail-in votes after a certain day. Why do they want you not to do it? Because they want to keep you where you are. And if you stay where you are, you're an accomplice.
Mm-hmm. Rickey, you know, being from Alabama and I'm from Mississippi, so you and I know about black folks trying to vote and them being asked how many bubbles are in a bar of soap, how many bumps on a cucumber, right? How many seeds in the watermelon, asking you questions that you knew you couldn't answer in order to prevent you from voting. DL talked some about the voter suppression tactics today. Why do you think there are some in our community that still don't believe that's real?
I think a lot of people don't care. You know, and that's what I see. You know, some of the younger generation, their entire attitude towards, you know, for example, just like my 30-year-old son, it's just really tough to have a conversation with him about certain things, and that's just he's just part of the demographic that's out there. And you know, when I was my son's age, I was always seeking knowledge. I want to learn. I want to talk to somebody older. Well, if I'm wrong about this or whatever, show me the way, teach me, you know, enlighten me. So you know, I won't be ignorant and saying ignorant things on social media. But it's an argument because they believe what they believe in. It's just hard to convince them. But I just try to focus on the people that want to learn and the people that listen. And we just try to produce a good show every morning just to get the information out by having on Biden surrogates and Jeff Johnson and, you know, anybody that would come on that could offer any type of, you know, knowledge, you know, to talk about the importance of voting. Damn, I forgot what was the question again? Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you answered it.
But that ADHD ain't no joke.
You answered it, man. Paul, what do you think about that? Because the voter suppression and intimidation now are things like voter ID cards, gerrymandering, felon disenfranchisement. So, I mean, what are your thoughts as a young person? Do you believe there are still voter suppression and intimidation tactics going on?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, as has been so eloquently stated, these things are still going on, and that's a fact. And to quote Lil Baby, they know that we are a problem together. They know we can storm any weather. If our votes did not matter, they would not be going to the extent that they are to stop us from voting. If our votes did not matter 100 years ago, 200 years ago, then they would have said, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. And they wouldn't have tried to keep us enslaved. They wouldn't have tried to keep us down where we were in the trenches, as many of us still are. The reality is this suppression is happening in multiple different ways, like you mentioned, with gerrymandering and also with voter registration cards. In the state of North Carolina, you can register to vote on site during early voting. But come election day, that's not necessarily the same case, if memory serves correctly. So there are things like that where you hear about these things, and it's not bad information, but it sometimes is misinformation, or you hear one thing and then one person says it to another, and you're playing telephone like you're in grade school again. You start to forget about it. But some of that suppression and intimidation is coming again through social media, because almost every 18 to 30-year-old person spends a large portion of their day on social media. And when you see so many things that say, oh, this is happening, and this is happening, and this person is bad, and this person is bad, and this person is bad, it again feeds into the narrative that, oh, well, no matter what you do, it's not going to change it. Just focus on you and what you have to do, and that's all you need to worry about. Keep doing all the stuff you're doing, but don't go out and vote. I think that there are tactics that are being taken behind the scenes in the media in which we consume that feeds into this narrative that votes do not matter. Because that's where a bit of the apathy comes from. That feeds into the conspiracy theories. I have quite a few friends, like Brother Smiley was talking about, who they're all into the conspiracy theories, and that's all that they can think about, and that's all that they go off of. But then you bring up something that's actually tangible in front of them, they shy away from the conversation in favor of what they want to talk about.
Yeah. I like that, because I was listening to some young folks talk about voting, and I heard one of them quoting Joseph Stalin, and I said, let me listen, because I didn't. They're deep if they're going to Joseph Stalin, right? But the point was, it does not matter who votes. What matters is who counts the votes. And I thought, now, damn, why they had to find that quote out of all of them? You know what I mean? Because that buys into what you're saying, that votes don't matter and you shouldn't vote. DL in Memphis, they had something called tent cities. You may know about that, a freedom village.
Right.
And that's where African Americans who did nothing but register to vote, their landlords would put them out of their houses. They would evict them. And they would in turn could not find any other places to live, and would have to set up tents. And they formed this thing called a freedom village. And you also know the initial tactic was, if you registered to vote, you could get killed. You could die just for registering. You could die. Our ancestors would put on their suits, their ties and dresses, and get in their Sunday best to go vote, knowing that there was a chance of them dying. Now, regrettably, we're hearing about the possibility that, and we know voter suppression really occurs on election day, November 3rd, but now we're hearing of the possibility of militias being out, DL, when we're trying to vote. Share your thoughts on that.
Well, ultimately, this is the sad but just sober reality, is that almost every advantage, every right that we have gotten has been over the protests of men like that, men who were going to be violent toward it. I mean, if black people, whether Hank Aaron wanted to break a home run record, or Obama became first president or the first person on the moon, black people, the idea of embracing the American dream and doing what it is that you know is quintessentially American, you know, voting, buying a home, ascending, you know, professionally, all those things are met generally with somebody telling you they'll take your life for it. Right now, if somebody tells you a scientific fact, you could be killed. Right now, Leslie Stahl did an interview. Donald Trump. But people have to realize this: when things are close to dying, when a way or a person or an idea is close to extinction, it fights that much harder to live. And I would say this, back to what Brother Paul was saying, when we know now that one of the things that the Russians did successfully was mitigate the black vote by spreading misinformation on exactly the devices that we were just discussing. The Russians knew that they could affect an apathetic community, people that never grew up in a gut. That's just how well known it is. The Russians knew that if I do this moral equivalency where they're the same, like you'll hear people telling you that they're the same thing, or it's it's the lesser of two evils. Now, literally, even at that, there should be a certain level of competency. There's a certain level of people that when you put a game show host in charge of the worst pandemic in history, you're going to get a reality show nobody wanted, and that affects us. There are people who are literally disproportionately black people and brown people and poor people are dying, and old people, black people, poor people, and brown people are dying at disproportionate rates because we have a man in office who wouldn't even do the very basic thing of trying to do his job. So people's apathy, not going to the polls, believing that moral equivalency, or that she's just as bad as him, cost black people lives. There are black people dead right now because you decided to not. You can't go to your grandmother's house right now. You can't graduate now. You can't go to a mall. You can't go and do the things you're supposed to be doing right now because you didn't make a competent choice to put them in office. And now your life has been impacted in a very real, tangible way. Even now, look at the places right now in Mississippi, where a good brother Grant lives. Right now, they find the disproportionate level of black people are wearing the mask and adhering to science. A lot of rural people are not, and the effect of the virus is changing. You need, at least at a very basic level, to make a choice at who you believe is competent enough to at least protect you. And not doing that costs tens of thousands of black and brown people's lives.
Wow. That's outstanding. Rick, you wanted to get in on that? Say anything on that?
No, DL said, DL said it all. DL, I'm really nervous about, election night. Let's say Joe Biden wins the election or whatever. I just have this bone-chilling fear that white militia and white supremacists is going to take on the streets and kill people. And I think that they have been encouraged by the president of the United States. How do you feel about that, and what are your thoughts? And then the second question to you, DL, or if anybody want to answer, how do y'all feel about the momentum of the Biden campaign?
DL, I think he was starting off with you about that race war that we've heard about.
Honestly, what have you had that somebody didn't try to take from you? The one thing that black men, out of all we talk about, we never talk about safety for ourselves because it's such an abstract concept. We were put here, and the reason I joined this fraternity and with you brothers right now is because I know that it takes us and men like us and women like us to understand that these are the realities of where we are right now. We have to change the terms of this argument. And the only way we do that, as to my armed insurrection, is not the answer. What is a political prowess and wherewithal that we wield for our benefit. That we wield for our benefit, just like everybody else does. Black women has shown us that it yields tangible results. And yes, I'm nervous, and so are they. When somebody's threatening you, when somebody tells you that and look at all the people. Have you ever seen black people get in lines this long to do something early? Have you ever seen that? Like,
no.
The new Jordan, it ain't the Popeye chicken sandwich. It is people. It was an example of a woman. She went to the real prominent school in Baltimore, and she didn't get her. It was a medical school, and the name escapes me. Hopkins, and she didn't get her mail-in ballot. She drove all the way to. She lived in Florida. Took a flight to Florida. Took an Uber to the voting place. Voted and came back. Our numbers are in record high. There was an older woman who, because of black woman, she was 93 years old. She had to leave Detroit and live with her son in Chicago. She made him drive him 300 miles to vote. You look. There are record numbers of people voting. The numbers are in place, and you have. This is what people do not seem to understand, and I can't stress this enough. Biden support is among older white people, white women, educated white women, and black people. That is a coalition that never has existed before, and there's a commonality in that we can use to get some tangible results for some things. They have agreed that we will form this coalition to do something. So you've never seen old black people, old white people, black people, young suburban, educated suburban women, Latin people over here. So the coalition that they formed is people that the military. He's leading in the military. So the coalition that he's forming is different than everybody, but it also can potentially yield us more opportunities. So yes, it is scary for a lot of people. And when he dog whistles, he knows his best opportunity is intimidation. And if our ancestors, brothers who led us, can get dogs sicked on them and can have be threatened to be killed, right there on the spot and no legal recourse, then we have our part in this, and to kind of break that cycle, but to understand that as it stands right now, that's a reality, and we have to meet that challenge. It's just that serious.
Let me get Paul to speak to that second question, Brother Smiley. You brought up about what do you think about Joe Biden's momentum? Do you see it as momentum, Paul?
Honestly, I think that's the best way to describe it. I don't know if it's the perfect word, but I think it's the best way to describe it, because the reality is this, like has already been said before, when you back a dog into a corner, he shows his teeth because he's scared and because he is afraid. I teach students, and what you see time and time again with people, whether that's middle, elementary, high school, postgraduate, college, when you call them out on something and they start to be scared and afraid, their true colors show, and it's the worst side of them that shows. And because those people before who were blindly following are the current resident of the Oval Office, blindly following him because they didn't want to vote for Hillary, for Democrats or whoever, they're finally starting to see, oh, this is not the way. And I was wrong and I was incorrect. And along with that, you're starting to see more of these things happen. Like how do we suddenly go from a pandemic to 2 Supreme Court justices? How does that happen? How was that at the top of the agenda? And the American people, black people, are calling out the hypocrisy. Black people are seeing there is another way. And obviously it helps when you have a person who looks like you running and advocating on your behalf. Obviously that helps, but I definitely think it's momentum. If not because of the points that he is giving and the points that she is giving, but because of the fact of the American people's eyes are open. They can see exactly what is going on. And no matter how many ads you buy to show up on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat to try to endorse your campaign, it does not change the truth.
There you go. Wow. We're getting some questions from YouTube, and I just want to pass them on. We talked about this, but I just want to see if anybody else. How do you change voter apathy? I think we started off the discussion. Anybody want to just say something short to that for this particular person who's asking that question?
It's interesting, Brother Grant, I will say this. We don't have to change empathy. A pandemic did it for us. The loss of job. This is, what America's going through right now? Pain compliance. This is pain. You have a president that told you, if you listen to this president in the last 6 months, for everything from ingesting bleach, literally taking bleach, not wearing masks. See, the thing that he has that you don't have is the finest medical advancement in the world. All we got is big mama prayer warriors. That's what we got. So this is not, I don't think this is a crisis. This is not America having a moment of conscience. This is America having a moment of crisis. You know what? We all black today. Today, everybody's black. Everybody's dying. Everybody's suffering. Children, when you ask me about, you can't go outside. Why? You can't Go to school and learn amongst your peers. Why? You can't go to the mall without a mask. Why? If you can't help your grandmother. Why? You can't go to you can't even put your family, or if something happens to your family, whether it's a happy moment or a sad one, you can't be around them. Why? Why is he not home?
Mm-hmm.
It is not a crisis of conscience. Apathy caused this. A pandemic is making apathy causes. In other words, you had a man in the office, put a man in an administration. It's depending on where you live. It depends on how you determine how you're going to deal with this. Not even a unified approach. With the United States of America, but divided against the pandemic. Apathy caused that. The pandemic and pain and suffering and loss of life and property is why we're here now. And that happened for a reason.
Good stuff. Good stuff. There's a question of, are we aware of any resources for transportation to the polls? And I will say that all of the Divine Nine, the chapters, are giving individuals those options in their community for transportation to the polls. There are other agencies too as well. Anyone else know of any others other than Divine Nine that's doing that? I know churches do that as well. Anything come to your minds that may have been given to you all to tell to your listeners?
I'm sure that in every city in the United States, especially in our cities where you have a lot of black folks, that between the churches and the fraternities and sororities and social and savings clubs, everybody's giving rise to the polls. From what I understand, I see a lot of stuff on the internet as to where people been making commitments to take people to the polls and taking 10 people to vote, not just taking themselves to vote, but that's everywhere. Just like, it kind of remind me of the bus boycott, and I see a lot of that going on.
Okay,
I hear about it a lot.
Okay, let me ask another question there. How can the Divine Nine drive a better voice with elected officials to address the Black agenda? Anybody want to take a stab at that?
I think that ultimately we have to decide what the Black agenda is. I think that you and I have had occasion to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have much like I think that Black women, as often as the case, have showed us exactly what we need to do. We need to be specific and unified. You can't say they meet our demand. You know, the one thing I can fault us for, and as a big a fan as I was of President Obama, it was that we didn't hold him accountable. We didn't demand things. And even, I don't care how much you love a coach or how much you love your parents, how much you love anybody that's been impressionable, made an impression on you. They had demands from you and you rose to them. Mm-hmm. And you were better because of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have to learn that we are a powerful group of people when we are united. We have to have a level of specificity to our demands and the tenacity. Look, you wouldn't be in office right now, or wouldn't even have this shot right now if it wasn't for us. That costs something. Mm-hmm. That costs something. Mm-hmm. The thing that we need to articulate is the asks, and they need to be specific, mm-hmm. and they need to be all encompassing, mm-hmm. and they need to be. I think sometimes even the lead in our water that leads to mass incarceration too. Mm-hmm. If we want to stop mass incarceration, if we want to stop mass incarceration, if we want to do something about the educational gap and the wealth gap, all those things can be solved by pragmatic measures. If you have more Black teachers teaching more Black people, that leads to the potential for higher education. If you have more Black doctors and healthcare professionals, that raises if a Black woman is treated by a Black doctor, her chances of having a successful outcome go up exponentially. If we want to stop people from going to prison, we clean our air and our water. We know what lead does. Most of the people, young brothers and sisters who are in prison right now, they have high concentrations of lead. So there are things that we can do. Several things regarding the environment, regarding the wealth gap, regarding the educational gap, prison reform that can be solved with very pragmatic measures, but they require us talking together and forming a consensus and having very specific, very doable asks.
Yeah. We talked about this next question. How do brothers on the panel feel about the record voting numbers? I think we're all excited about seeing these Black folks vote early. The next question was, how do we cultivate and encourage brothers of Omega to run for political office? And let me just say to this, I really like the organization that the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated created here recently, which is the Omega Network for Action. I just think this is going to be an opportunity to really educate brothers on how to run for office, how to raise funds, how to be sharp in debates and prepare them for that. We're going to announce this once the election is over, but I'll take a point to announce it here, that after the election, the Omega Network for Action is going to announce the James Clyburn Institute that will focus on helping brothers of Omega Psi Phi learn how to run for office, learn how to research issues and take stands on them, and then articulate their positions on those issues. Let me ask anyone else, though, how would we cultivate? That's the last question we have right now from YouTube. What would any recommendations from you all on how we can cultivate and encourage brothers of Omega to run for office?
And Brother Grant, if I could add something to that, and this is making me think more and more about my own personal experiences. And you bring up Brother Clyburn, I can't help but think about my good friend and brother Kenton Kelly, from my district from South Carolina, who worked underneath Brother Clyburn. And the reality is you have to start early. You have to identify these leaders early. At my own alma mater, the University of North Carolina at Pembroke, I saw just recently they formed their own version of what is often referred to as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, but now there is one of those kinds of organizations on the campus of my university and dealing with social change. I think if we can identify potential leaders, especially our younger brothers, those who have the propensity to move forward in this, those who have this aptitude, or those who can excel in this space, why not go ahead and give them the training that they need? Why not go ahead and pour into them that way? Because they're the ones who can go ahead and start making these changes now, because 30, 40, 50, however many years ago, when the present generation was plotting out their moves to what's going on now, they had a plan. And they identified these leaders early. Sure, they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, but somebody said, we're going to pour into them and we're going to invest in them. We're going to mentor them. So I think now is the time to go ahead and start identifying these leaders throughout the country, throughout the nation. There's a number of brothers running for elected offices, but how many of them have we been able to see, and how many of them have we been able to pour into in any way possible? Some of these things are as simple as those brothers who want to take initiative on their own college campuses. I think about Second Vice Grand Brother Caleb Love was telling me that one of the strategies that they've been using around him in a number of his circles is you bring somebody with you to the polls. You bring someone with you, whether that's walking, driving, carpooling, but even something as small as that. If there was someone who was thinking ahead like that, why not go ahead and push them forward and set them on the path?
I think you made me think of, too, that the initiative that we have in Omega, that a father takes his son to the poll. A grandfather takes his grandson to the poll. And we've been seeing some of the pictures of that going around that have been simply beautiful. But I like that idea of mentoring young people. And we think this institute might be a good thing, too. That Omega Network for Action also has sent out the names of all the Omegas that are running for office all over the country. So often we don't know who's who, but we actually have a list under the leadership of Cedric Spencer, and we've sent that out. We'll be also sending out some endorsements this week, too, about other races. Like you talked about, DL, about Doug Jones in Alabama. And so the Omega Network for Action will be endorsing him tomorrow as well. So you'll see a lot of the Divine Nine have decided to create PACs and 501c4s so that those organizations can speak more loudly in this election and in elections going forward. And that would also be my response to that particular question. We were talking about the intimidation on election day, and I do want to point this out. There are steps a voter can take who encounters difficulty in voting or whose voting credentials are challenged in any way. And we would ask them to call Election Protection Hotline, 866-687-8683. That's 866-OUR-VOTE. And also in every state, there are contact numbers if there are issues that you may have at the voting booth. You should familiarize yourself with all those numbers prior to heading out to vote. Since we were talking a minute ago about militia. Oh, Steve's in the house. Steve Harvey, how you doing, brother?
How you brothers doing, man?
Man, good to see you, man.
My apologies to you, Grand. You know, I'm tech ignorant, so I've been on there 30 minutes trying to do this. All my kids is gone, so I've been in straight trouble. I'm so sorry. Rickey Smiley, what's up with you, boy? DL Hewley, original Kings, baby. All the way back. And to all the brothers online. Brother Grand, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. Always good to see your face, brother.
Hey, man, it was a struggle, but I'm here. I only got a few minutes, but I did the best I could.
That's all right, man. We'll take it. We're just talking about the importance of voting in this particular election during this particular time, Steve, and that might be a good place for you to come in. Why is voting important at this time?
We got together, me, DL, and Ricky, and we decided to use our platforms because we control the airwaves. And we got all the morning and afternoon drive. There's nobody bigger than the three of us. And so we've been pushing as hard as we can on a unified front as men of Omega to make sure that everybody gets to the polls. Look, man, the best thing that I've been saying on my show is, you know, we have a chance to push this Black Lives Matter movement over the finish line. But in order to make them understand that Black lives really do matter, you gotta show them something. So you gotta prove it to them. You know, you can ask them to make Black Lives Matter, but they're not gonna give it to us. They're just not going to give it to us. You make your life matter when you show them that your vote matters. When we start voting people in and out of position of power, money, and position, then we start getting their attention, and then everybody goes out and says, oh, Black lives really do matter. Because look, until we make some political change, you know, we just protesting. The protesting is good. I'm proud of the young people that's out there on the front lines. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that a change is on the horizon. But the way to make a change is to vote. And that's why I've been pushing it from the Black Lives Matter angle and just doing the best we can on our show. And I really want to thank my brothers, because as soon as we got together, Brother Graham, we were just on a unified front.
Beautiful.
It wasn't a, hey, man, can y'all make time or none of that. Ricky and DL jumped right on it, man. So we've been at it. This is the first year in radio I haven't taken a vacation this year because of the COVID. I was trying to keep people safe, and now we're trying to get rid of this White House administration. So as I want the election to be over, so his administration can be over, and I'm going somewhere. And I don't really drink, but I think I'm going to drink heavy somewhere.
I'll come with you and show you how it's done. I promise.
I'll have a drink and a cigar. I never have, but I will.
Come on, Rick.
I'll show you how it's done. Don't worry, brother. I got you.
I know you will.
I'm going to smoke a cigar when DL come to Birmingham this weekend, so I'll be waiting for you.
Absolutely. You know, to piggyback, somebody asked about voter. You know what has happened, and I think that no one has anticipated this. The fact that Black people are turning out early, all the voter suppression mechanisms they had in place primarily dealt with us going day of voting, but we've done it early. So the best way is the punch you never see coming that knocks you out. Mm-hmm. And if we want to, and one of the things I think that they didn't anticipate is high engagement. They think that you have to be excited. And I think, and I made this point earlier, Black people vote to survive. We ain't got to be excited. Mm-hmm. But the fact, go early and go together. Like that old African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Mm-hmm. It is our togetherness that will keep us safe and moving forward. So I think going early and going together is millions and millions. We are very much overrepresented. You know this, Brother Paul. You're a young millennial, and I'm sure you have the stats. We are overrepresented in early voting. Over. Mm-hmm. So I think that they didn't anticipate that. And I think it'd be great if we got all the voting done before the day of the vote. We shut people out that early. And secondly, the mechanisms they have in place wouldn't have time. You can't intimidate somebody at the polls when they're already gone.
Right. Let me ask you this, because we talked about this earlier. About 13 to 14% of African American male voters voted for Trump in 2016. The Trump administration is shooting for 20% for this election. And Steve, I don't know, I talked about this for a second, that the 5 fraternities have come together on a Black Men Vote initiative to get an additional 1 million Black men to vote in this election. But how is it possible that Black men could possibly overlook the president telling AOC and the squad to go back to their country?
Well, look,
or Maxine Waters, a low IQ individual, Omarosa, a dog, Senator Harris, nasty and a monster. How can a Black man vote for someone who talks about sisters like that?
It's a funny thing, because I get to see them on that level where we all try to get ourselves to, right? You know, I talk to well-off people all the time. What you have in this small sector of Black men is this yearning so badly to be accepted that they think that being accepted is to cooperate and participate in it and go along with it. So they ignore what is happening to us because they so busy trying to be them. What we all know who have become successful, you're not going to ever be them. I don't care what you do. I don't care how hard you try. You are not going to be them. You will always be them. You will always be the only Black in the room. You will always be the only one of 2 Blacks at the country club. You're going to always be the only 1 or 2 Blacks down in corporate America in that position. You're going to always be them. I don't care what you do. You will never ever fit into their scheme of things. You will always be looked at as them. And it's a sad thing when Black men think that if they can play golf with them, that if they can yacht with them, that if they can sit with them, then they can be with them. And that's a sad mistake, man. And you see it, all you got to do is look at the Senate and the Congress and how they vote and how they shake and move. They do nothing to include us. And the sickening part for those who get at such a high level, they forget how they got there. If we don't take care of the people who shop at Walmart, we all in trouble. They don't, look, man, people who buy our tickets to come to our shows, those are our folks. See, they made us who we were before any of us crossed over into mainstream America. Before I was a game show host or author or any of that. I was BET. I was Black Entertainment Television. I was Showtime at the Apollo. I was Black Night at the Comedy Club. That's what I was. When we were on the Kings of Comedy tour, 98% of that room every night was Black folks. But then some of us get where we going and we act like we ain't with them no more. So our obligation is to take care of those that are affected by policy. Look, if you get enough money, it don't matter who the president is, but not enough of us got enough of that money. So we got to keep pushing.
There you go. Who'd like to add in on that? DL, anything on that?
Well, I think that ultimately it's like Bernie used to say, who you with? It's really a simple thing. I think that I've noticed a disturbing trend, and I think particularly last election cycle. I think that there were a lot of Black men who were misogynist and saying, I'm not going to vote for women. I heard that a lot. I also heard there is something attractive to a lot of people about this bombacity, the things that Trump does and says appeal to some people. It does. It's like, have you ever, I remember I was watching this interview and Michelet was talking about, she thought that she was being shown love when a man hit her, when he abused her. And I think those men tend to be those kind of people who think love is that, who think caring is that. And it's just like, you didn't have that. Jared Kushner said we're lazy. Donald Trump tells us nobody's done more for Black people than me. Like, and he talks about the unemployment rate being the lowest it's been in history, so he can't be racist. The unemployment rate during slavery was 0%. And I'm pretty sure they didn't like us either. So ultimately, it is who you with. And we all have there's politically, and we're not literally even talking about Republicans and Democrats. I've known people from all kinds of political stripes. We're talking about this man, and what he has done to our people, where he tells you he lets, you give him credit for an economy he literally did not create.
Absolutely.
You're so willing to believe that he was better than the black man that you don't even take time to understand. He releases 20 people from prison. President Obama released 1,000, but his is better. Like the white man's ice is cold. It's not about our political ideology. It is about what is, because there are people who naturally have, this is their slant, and we're talking about this man who is morally, and to me, when you look at Kanye and Donald Trump, they're exactly the same kind of man. Exactly. They both, neither one of them reads. Both of them are demagogues, and I've seen both their wives naked. They're the same kind of man. And they ultimately have the same level of disregard for us.
Hey
man, I'm a new Q. Y'all gotta let me. Come on, brother Vice. Come on now.
I got a couple more kids I got to get through college. You got to.
I'm sorry. Oh, we were still on? I'm sorry.
Hey, brother Grant. What you don't know is I've sat in the dressing room with this brother for 4 years, weekend after weekend, with him, Said, and Bernie. I have heard some things, and we have shared some things and some cigars that most people would not find funny at all. I mean, our level of comedy is, when you backstage with the Kings, it was like it was crazy, man. We would say stuff that was brilliantly funny, but it wasn't quite ready. You know, as soon as a tragic event happens, we start writing the jokes. We know we can't tell them publicly because y'all not ready for them. But at the third eye we got, it see the joke immediately. You know, it ain't our fault that, 22 people got shot in the Lubies. We didn't do it. So here come the jokes. But you got to wait 3-4 weeks to tell them. DL is probably, of all of us, the most he's the best speaker amongst us, especially politically. And if you let him talk long enough on any other subject too. But DL is the best among us. And Rickey just bows down to age at this point. That's all Rickey Smiley do. Rickey stay out the way and let the old Qs go at it.
I do.
But Rickey Smiley has been on the forefront of this thing too, man. And I'm just saying all this because I got to go, because I got that interview that I'm supposed to be doing in 5 minutes. So I got to try to set up this Zoom call. And if it take me as long to set up this Zoom call, my black man is in a world of trouble. And let me say something else. I never heard of StreamYard. I don't know what it is. If you'd have seen me trying to Google StreamYard, I had my on the phone, man. So I'm gonna get over here, and just in case she makes this phone call in 5 minutes so I could be online. But I wanted to say, Brother Grand, what you're doing is absolutely fabulous. I appreciate the leadership that you're showing for all of our brothers nationwide and internationally. The growth of Omega Psi Phi under your leadership has been phenomenal, with Vice Grand Ricky Lewis there, and this brother D.L. Hughley, man. I can't even tell you how it warmed my heart to have him come into the fold, man. And all you done with Teddy Ginn, and Lord have mercy, George Clinton. I almost cried when George Clinton came in for very personal reasons. But I love you, brothers, and I thank y'all for having me, man. And let's stay strong, and let's do our due diligence and get him out of here.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, man. We love you, man. We appreciate you jumping on, brother. Take care. All right.
Hey, man, love y'all.
I know, bro, Grant. I know you ain't supposed to, but
I can do it. I can throw it up there too, Steve.
One time. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Brothers, we're going to continue our conversation for a second here. I have one
Brother
more.
Grant.
Yeah.
I got to dip too. I got 2 grandkids in here. I got to get them to bed.
Do your thing. We'll go ahead. See you next round. Let me ask this one to DL. You take care, brother.
Love you, man.
All right, love you too, brother.
Roop.
DL, let me ask you and Paul this last question about. We talked a little bit about. You mentioned Kanye, but I was talking about the African American male voter.
Sure.
How does Kanye's campaign, Ice Cube's contract with Black America, and 50 Cent's comments knowingly or unknowingly play into this conversation of them trying to get 20% of the African American male vote?
Well, I think that I've made my opinions known about all those things, but ultimately I will say this. What they demand from us is a certain amount of selfishness. Now, I think that Kanye's perspective is a little more skewed, and I think his is a whole different thing. I think that 50 Cent is more selfish, where he just wants to say he cares about the money more than anything. But I think Ice Cube had a approach that it was well, it was well researched, but I think that the desire, just kind of they're the sameism, is crazy. And when you talk about bipartisanship, which really doesn't exist, bipartisanship means that I peel off a few people on the opposing party who are in probably a district that is not conducive to their political viewpoint, and I get them to come along with me. Mm-hmm. But generally, political parties have their things that they're behind, and none of them are perfect. But the idea that they're the same, like when he calls them the same, do you really honestly believe that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the same kind of men with the same kind of leadership? Do you believe they think the same things about Black people? And even if they did something earlier and they have said, I've done these things and I want to make amends, do you believe that that is possible? But do you believe Donald Trump, who right now will not even admit that anybody's dying? So I think that you could have the best of it. I remember on my radio show, I had this conversation. I said, and I said it out loud. I think Ice Cube got mad at me for saying that Trump was using him. And then he got mad at Eric Trump for using him. So you can't. We're not talking about republicanism. We're talking about a man who only sees Black people as useful tools and caricatures. Name me one person that has met with him, a Black person, that wasn't an athlete, an actor, a rapper, or a comedian. Name me one, and that tells me, when you tell me who's in the room, I'll tell you how serious it is. When you tell me who's in the meeting, what is it that we all have in common? We're all entertainers. So we'll entertain the masses and distract them. If you were really serious, you'd listen to the CDC, the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus. You don't have them in there. You don't have sociologists. You don't have lawmakers. You don't have doctors. You have us. And that tells me what you think of us, and that tells me how much input and how much import you put on.
Good stuff. Paul, you want to add anything to that as we get ready to wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. Bro Hughley's clearly the authority between the two of us. But I honestly think, you said a word that's been kind of in my mind since the last question when we talked about Black men voting for Trump. And that word that sticks out to me is that S word, selfish. I think that some people attempt to do the right thing in an unorthodox way and it backfires on them and blows up in their face. And others simply do things because it's for their own personal benefit and for their own personal gain. I'm typically a moderator and someone who mediates between sides. But when wrong is wrong, wrong is wrong. And the current president of the United States is selfish. He does not care about those people who he is pandering to. He does not care about what they think. He does not care about what they feel. He cares about advancing his own agenda. And when we talk about Black men and Black people attempting to do the right thing, we cannot be selfish. We just can't be selfish. And my message to young voters, and specifically to young Black men who look like me, men who I grew up with, young Black men who just turned 18 last week, whenever it was, is this, and they can feel the way that they want to feel, but this is something I say to my brothers, and I've said it to my own younger brother before. It's not about you. It's not about you. When we were enslaved, it was not about us. It was about our children. It was about those who were to come after us. When it came time for us to vote and we were persecuted and potentially were facing death, it was not about us. It was about the future. When it comes time for you to put food on the table for your son, for your daughter, to provide for those in your family, it's not about you. And it never has been about you. And that's what makes Black people so resilient. Because since our ancestry was pulled from the shores of Africa and dragged through the Middle Passage, and in 1619 were brought to Virginia, it's never been about them and their immediate gratification. Part of the issue now is the immediate gratification has become so glamorized by the media and so glamorized by our popular culture that any distraction will take them away from the purpose. Any distraction takes them away from it. No matter what Kanye's reason was for trying to put his name on the ballot, no matter what these other high-profile people are, whatever space that they're in, it's a distraction. And that distraction takes away from the options that we have to rectify the situation. But if I were to say anything, it's just for those men, for those whoever who are only in it for themselves and their instant gratification, for the riches and not for the wealth and the health of those to come. It's not about you.
True. That's good stuff, Paul. That I hate Rickey missed that, because that's a perspective from young people he would have really appreciated. Brothers, we're at the end of this thing. We're a minute out from closing. Let me just say a couple of things and go to you for any last thoughts. I don't see any more questions in the queue. So, oh, Lord, there is a whole bunch of questions in the queue. I didn't scroll down. Let me, I'm sorry, but let's see. What is the real plan to disrupt the Electoral College? Is it a system no longer needed? Maybe DL, you want to say anything about that?
Obviously, it's a system. It's an antiquated notion. I think that when you consider that it doesn't reflect the current population, current population, or even if ultimately it should be, the founding fathers didn't want the bigger states to rule over the small, but now we have situations where the smaller states rule over the large. And like you've had between George Bush and now Donald Trump, you've had 2 times where the Electoral College didn't work, where the wishes of the majority didn't get satisfied because of the whims of the Electoral College. And I think it would make us a better country if you had to vote and not regionally, not say what they want in Pennsylvania or in Arizona or these swing states. I think we get the kind of government that was reflective of what the people's desires are and their hopes are. And if we spend this much time dismantling Robert E. Lee, relics of the Confederacy, the Electoral College is one. And I think that when that may be one of our asks, because if we all admit that these monuments to the Confederacy hold us back and are hurtful, then nothing is a bigger monument to the Confederacy than Electoral College. And it really definitely impacts the way that we govern, that we live our lives to a large extent. And so I think that it has to go. And I think that the way you do that is to put people in place and demand that we have a government, a system of democracy. No democracy in the world has this kind of system where they have 50 different elections. I think that we should have one election and the will of the people is done.
Right.
And then you have politicians who have to run that way and who have to govern that way. And if we can tear statues down because they're relics of the past, then the Electoral College is. I'd keep 10 statues of Robert E. Lee if they gave me the Electoral College.
They're telling me we're done. I see a note that says the NAACP has a transportation program. It talks about how do we continue the momentum. I think with the kind of conversations that we have here. As I close, I would just simply say thanks to you brothers for coming out and participating. Thanks to Steve Harvey and thanks to Rickey Smiley for coming out. The Divine Nine has some great partnerships during this time with When We All Vote and the NAACP. We did a town hall with Sybil Wilkes, as I spoke about, and Derek Johnson. We also penned a letter to the campaigns regarding addressing the racial wealth disparity gap that we see in this country. And we're excited about the remedies that we've put there. Again, thanks goes out to our panelists, but also to the audience for listening and giving us questions. We've had successful presidential elections during the Civil War, the Great Depression, and 2 world wars. And with the large number of Black people that have already voted early, it is my belief that we will show the world that we will have a successful presidential election, even in a pandemic. We don't want anyone to sit on the sidelines. I thank all of you all for coming out tonight. And with that, we'll close and give it back to Brother Cedric Spencer.
Brother Grant, thank you. Thank you to the panelists as well. We greatly appreciate everyone joining us this evening. Had a great conversation. As Brother Anderson said, it's not about you. So let's just make sure we get out and vote in our community. Thanks to the brothers of Mega Psi Phi. Thanks to the audience. Everyone have a good night. Thank you very much. Take care.